Live in the moment. Don't get old. Don't judge people. Because you can't be free if you judge people. Love now. Create. Inspire.
Throughout history, the true value of anything was most accurately assessed in its cost in human flesh. Skin is a commodity. Skin is a universal currency, and skin is a tapestry. The pictures that we put on our bodies tell our personal stories, both triumphant and tragic. Beauty may only be skin deep, but ink goes all the way to the soul. Tales of the Flesh starts now. Welcome to episode number 1, which we're already probably going to label the lost episode. And this is the point where I would normally turn to my right and say, welcome our beautiful co-host, Nixon Vici. But unfortunately, Nixon's AWOL. Hopefully she's cool. I'm sure I'll find out later the entire story. But Nixon is AWOL, and under normal circumstances, she's going to be the co-host. She's going to be here because she's got some cool ink. She's got some things to say. At this point, I should introduce who we do have available tonight. First of all, we're recording from Route 66 Monster Tattoo in Chatham, Illinois. In the gallery room, as a matter of fact. Awesome place to be. Great environment. If you guys come out to Monster to get a piece or to look into a piece, you should definitely step into this side room because you got some interesting art in here. A lot of the stuff that you've done.
Yeah, some of it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can expand on that if you want to. Like that piece over your shoulder there, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that one I actually painted for my sister, and then I took it back at some point for an art show and never give it back. But,
You're like, screw my sister.
But yeah, I painted for several years before I started tattooing, so when we opened up this place and had the gallery, I decided to put a few of my spare pieces in here that I either hadn't sold or hadn't had the heart to sell. So, you know, there's a few, but I'm not the only one showing in here. I've got some of my friend Felicia Olin's work, a couple photography pieces by the Rooster.
That's a reminder that we should start the show.
Yeah, all right. But yeah, I've got a few photography pieces by Bridget Burnett. We've usually got some Adam Henske pieces in here. Mike Dye.
Anyway, lots of cool shit.
I can't even remember all of them right now, but yeah. So I want to start having regular shows in here every month, but since, we just moved here recently and it's been kind of hectic, I haven't really gotten around to that yet.
This is introduction number 1. This is Mel. She's one of the owners at Route 66 Monster Tattoo. Mm-hmm. And she's our artist for the... Here's kind of the format that we're going to use. We're going to try to talk to an artist every week, and we're going to try to talk to a tattooed person every week. Some weeks we may have two artists. Some weeks we may have multiple people sitting around this room talking about their ink. And if we do, that's cool. But this week our artist is going to be Mel, as appropriately because we're in her space. we're using her room. So
you're welcome.
It's good
Lucky
that we
friends.
start with her. And going around the table, we have her significant other, Sean.
Hello.
Also,
Louis C.K.'s lookalike.
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to go there.
I figured you were.
I totally was.
Yeah.
But I'm going to, just for everybody else's, I'm going to let everybody else decide. I'm going to put up a picture of you and a picture of Louis side by side on our website at gonerogueradio.com.
I'm digging it.
And we'll let them put in their 2 cents.
I think so.
I think you're spot on a ringer for Louis C.K., dude. I think you're right there.
I'm for it. I would be more than willing to get his sloppy seconds.
You,
Sandra Bernhardt.
and if you believe what Louis says, they're not well used by the time he gets done with them, so there'll be plenty left.
I think that would be great.
Do people come up to you on the street and say, "Are you Louis C.K.?"
You know what's funny? I work at a local college, and there's been several students that have come into the place because I'm kind of put away in the back. They kind of put me. They see me as a Quasimodo of Lincoln Land.
Not because you look like Louis C.K., but
I don't think so. I think it's just because
some personal
I think
bias.
Personal bias, probably the restraining order against me and small children, and they kind of set me in the back there. Once in a while, I break the 500 feet barrier that's enforced by the state of Illinois. And
You should not be afraid to bring your children to monster
No,
test.
at all. We're a great family place, and and then I go out and talk to them, and they're like, they see me as walking through carrying books or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, you look just like Louis C.K. Are you Louis C.K.?" I'm like, "No. Why would Louis C.K. be working at your community college?" But just in case.
Have you
I'm
ever
Louis
said
C.K.
yes? Is there
I
even
did
one
once.
point? Yeah.
I did once, and it was, of course, like a couple little, like, right out of high school giggling girls. They're like, "You look just like, are you Louis C.K.?" And I'm like,
Absolutely.
"Yes, I am." I said, "I am."
Are you
But
18?
Be quiet, because I'm here. Yeah.
Yes,
said,
I am.
I'm researching a role for a new bit I'm doing.
New Woody Allen movie.
Yes, and I'm right now carrying books. That's my job, and to see if anyone notices me, and they didn't believe me after that.
Well, there could be worse people to look like. You know,
Yeah,
you could
they
look
could
like
be.
Lisa Lampanelli. That would really suck.
That would. But I know I don't have to ask for that. I don't think black guys would
Well,
like
you're-
me as much.
Probably not going to get as much. Probably not going to get as much play with the black guys as Lisa. But
No, because I don't have that ass.
yeah, you look
If I only
fabulous
had
though.
that ass.
I work really hard on it.
So you're married to Mel.
I am for 16 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really long time. Seems longer every day. No, she's wonderful.
No response from Mel.
No, she is no.
Yes.
She's thinking. Well, normally I would be going ow, or you hear something breaking, but
No,
she can't do that
he's-
because there's a very expensive equipment on the table.
No, he's sweet. Some days I just want to hug him, and other days I just want to hug his face with a pillow until he stops kicking.
Yeah,
I've tried a couple of times. He wakes up usually.
That's a pretty spot on definition for marriage, right?
I think
there.
it is. I recently went to the doctor, and I told my doctor I had sleep apnea. And then I said, but I also dream about eating giant marshmallows a lot. I
There's
don't know
a
the
reason why you
correlation.
stop breathing in the middle of the night.
I
mystery.
don't know what the correlation there is, but it has something to do with marriage, I think.
I don't know.
But no, we're great. We've been together 16 years. We were friends in high school, as well as our other gentleman here, and
Yeah, we got another
Josh.
guest. We'll
Yeah,
get to
we got
him
to
in a
move on to
second.
him, right? And then we had the shop open for 3 years now. It was on the north side, and then we moved here to Chatham in March, and it's been going well. Our kids go to school here. So.
What role do you play in the business?
I like to refer to myself as office manager, or manceptionist.
Manception. I like
I
that.
think you sound like you have a hump too.
I do.
Manception is hello.
Yeah, like
His
how
digital hum, his little face.
Yeah, the
your
Igor.
little twin that got absorbed.
I take care of all the logistics that an eccentric group of artists would normally not want to take care of. I love that we're this place because there's so much creativity flowing around. We have such a great group of team of artists here, but artists are known for their ability to create masterful works of art, not
Or play well. They're not known for playing well with others.
no, but that happens occasionally. I'm also
He's
here.
a good buffer.
I am. I'm a good. I
need
play
somebody like
several roles. I can play the warden. I can play the accountant. Different things like that.
Do you ever have need of a bouncer here? You have to put anybody out?
No, No, I guess there was a couple.
He's never
instances-
here on those days.
No, I never am. I'm conveniently not here. I'm conveniently at my other job. But that's kind of my deal.
You could probably diffuse any situation with a Louis C.K. bit.
I could.
You just walk in and you tell a Louis C.K. bit, and you walk out and they're like, "Was that fucking Louis C.K. that just walked in here and told a joke?" And then laugh. You could create a whole.
Why are you shouting Illinois again?
Yeah, you could create a whole Bill Murray thing with Louis C.K. just
Yes.
showing up at various places, doing something fun, and then leaving.
Yeah, and then be like,
No one will ever believe
no
you.
one will
Was
ever
that
believe you.
Louis C.K.?
Yeah, why did he do that?
If I looked exactly like a famous comedian, I'd be using it for every bit that I could get. Like, I would totally be walking into places and just doing people's dishes and saying, "Hey, it's nice to see you," and then walking out.
You know, I think it would go over better if I didn't have the ink on my arms. If I didn't have the ink on my arms, or maybe I wore like a lot of
Identifying
like. He does kind of wear a lot of button ups. Maybe if I would wear some button ups and I don't roll them up, I let him.
He wears slouchy shit.
Yeah.
He would never pull off that Batman shirt that you got.
No, I don't really pull it off either. I'm getting pudgy. That's okay. I call it extra cushion for the cushion.
Cut the middle. You know, just
I'm
crop
thinking
top
about that.
Just crop top it.
We just had a belly
That
button.
should be
Belly button
hot.
piercing.
We just had our daughter. She just turned. Well, she's 15, freshman year of high school, and she convinced mom, not me, to get a belly button piercing. And so mom did it.
Of course she did.
Well, because I'm the piercer.
Right.
So she did it, but I was a little against it. Not that I'm one to judge, but in the hierarchy of piercings, belly button piercings equivalent to like the tramp stamp. But I didn't want her to think that.
Nothing
I love
against any potential
I did. I
customers
told her
of
right
hers.
off.
If you love belly button piercings, we love belly button piercings.
How we
Cover
do.
66 monster tattoos.
They're
But,
kind of slutty, but they're sexy. We
but
love
then,
them.
yeah. But I don't want to think about it.
Neither
Not on
of those
15-year-old
things do I
girls.
want my 15-year-old daughter to embody, but
Slutty
you
or
know,
sexy?
yeah. No.
I have to say though, she's a good kid,
Could
and
be
this
worse.
is like the biggest step she's ever taken, like towards that growing up, so to speak, like towards thinking about her
She's
sexuality.
expressing herself.
Yeah, and I respected it. So yeah, I think maybe if I cut the Batman shirt to a midriff and have Mel belly button pierce.
That also shows
That'll-
you
It would
your
get-
daughter too.
Yeah, I'd show like
Yeah, a
father-daughter bonding moment.
You get a
Swarovski
picture of her on
crystal
Facebook
dangling
with
in your sarlacc
And then,
pit.
I'm kind of like it is like Starlight Pit because I'm kind of like Burt Reynolds under here.
I guarantee you, if you suggest it as a father-daughter bonding experience,
She
she's
would
gonna
take it out.
rip the tattoo out of her own belly
I think
button
that's great.
and never gonna have
I
it in
think
her
that's
again.
awesome. I think that's really what needs to happen. You notice how many people hate having their parents on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I think that's a similar idea.
Well, I mean, she does find other ways to rebel, like she shops at Hollister. She tried out for cheerleading.
Wow,
What?
those
She
are
goes
two
to
big
church
negatives. Right? Oh
most
my god!
Sundays.
What's the name of that? What was it? Was
Um,
it the Munsters or Adams Family had like the one blonde chick?
The Munsters,
Yeah,
Marilyn.
it was like her.
She's our
So
Marilyn.
you
Yeah.
guys
I
have
mean,
a
I-
Maryland.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I have to respect her rebellion. How else
Sure.
are you supposed to rebel in a house full of freakazoids like us?
So she's rebelling by being normal.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
gonna be a Republican and marry an accountant. I guarantee
Oh,
Or a
it.
doctor.
what a
Doctor,
horrible
yeah.
life!
Yeah.
You need a hand.
See,
Not a
I'm
doctor,
thinking
PhD.
that we
Yeah,
got it
definitely.
right,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Because if we were a conservative household, we'd just raise another freak like me to put out into the world. So
She's
you
gonna
know.
disown you people at some point. She's gonna be like, "No, I don't have a family. Let's elope. You don't want to meet them."
Pictures of the wall.
You're gonna accidentally run into her at a grocery store one day. She's gonna be married and have 5 kids, and you're gonna be like, "I had no idea." She's gonna say, "Yeah," and there's a reason for that.
yeah,
I don't want you people influencing my children.
There'd be one little dark child who'd be like, "Hello, you're one of us. I can tell.
yeah.
Looking at you.
Josh chimes in.
I'm
You should
Josh
probably
Sander.
get that mic closer to you.
I'm the I don't know, guest.
Bend it down.
Yeah.
Visiting.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bend it
Yeah,
down.
there you go.
Good.
Pull it
My
closer.
homie G Skillet.
Hello.
You don't,
Hi, everybody.
you don't have to like swallow it or anything.
Yeah, I'm not gonna deep throat it or anything.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
So this is Josh, and he's the other 50% of the show's traditional format, and that is the inked person.
I'm the person with a few tattoos. You guys have more tattoos than I do. I have a few. But they have,
Yeah, but to be fair,
But you have stories.
we
I heard.
work in the joint.
You do work in the
I
joint,
mean,
so, you know.
Yeah, we can tattoo ourselves whenever the hell we want.
Yeah.
So
You'd
it's-
have more if you worked in a
If I were to
tattoo.
tattoo, I'd be covered. My eyelids would be covered. Eyelids on my ears. It would my, you know, if you shave my head, it'd be all on my head too, and it'd be inside my butt.
Even inside your butt
My
would
butt
be tattooed.
covered in tattoo. It'd be a treasure map.
You'd
You'd
have to learn how to tattoo with a mirror for that one. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you'd take that.
be the first guy with a
Script,
tattooed
tattooist,
urethra.
You know.
There was a girl that was on Facebook that they had a link to that
Mhm.
was the first girl officially
Uh-huh.
that had. I don't think it was really officially, but she had her butthole tattooed.
Oh,
I don't know what it was.
Like the
A
interior.
starfish?
Like yeah,
an
right.
asterisk.
How deep can you tattoo
I don't
into
know,
a
but
butt?
it wasn't like I guess it was
A
maybe
Sarlacc
on the right, like tentacles coming out, a little thing that was like a little tentacle with like
Or that
with
little
Boba Fett.
That
Boba
little
Fett.
floating
Like-
barge in the outside of it.
I don't
That is so
know.
wrong.
I don't know what she got done, but it was evidently somewhat interior / exterior. It was. I don't know how you keep it. That would be really hard to keep.
Where would
clean.
you show it? That's what I'm
Well,
wondering.
you know that.
Would you
would
go
be
to
one of
shows?
those tattoos.
Well-
It's just for her.
Oh,
it
It
is-
wasn't
somebody
just for
else.
her though. She had a crowd.
I'm sure there's a story behind it. I'd love to have her on the show. She
Yeah.
could show us her tattoo and we'd
Well,
talk
anything,
about it.
she's the first, so, you know.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
go in the history books as being
It's always good to be the first.
the first asshole tattooed person, you know.
Definitely.
I'll bet her mother's proud.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Probably has a picture of him on the wall or tattooed asshole.
I would do that.
And there's Jenny's tattooed asshole.
I would do that Jamaican bobsled team coming out
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like right at the end with like all like big looking victorious with their arms raised.
There's a lot of potential that's not been
Right.
explored. You should market that, you know.
If they're coming
Yeah.
out, at one point they went in. That
Right.
logic dictates. Another Lisa Lampanelli situation.
We went back to it again. Full circle.
Common
Full circle.
theme.
So we're going to talk to Josh about his ink, and we're going to hear some stories about Josh.
Sure.
That sounds like fun. But first, I want to talk to Mel.
Okay.
And I want to talk about your art. Obviously, you were involved in, like you said, you did some fabulous paintings before you got into tattooing. I'm assuming that was the transition. How did you go from being an artist to a tattoo artist?
Honestly, I don't think there's that big of a difference. I mean, it's just working in another medium, albeit the most difficult medium I think I've ever learned. Definitely not one that I picked up quite as easily as, like, say, watercolors or something. But, you know, it's unfortunately the old saying, you know, is true. It's difficult to be an artist and to make a living with it, you know. And even though I sold a lot of paintings and I showed at a lot of places, it was not steady or reliable enough as an income. So, I mean, it just seemed like the natural transition to find something that would be. I had a friend who moved down here from, I want to say, I think Seattle, and he had worked at a shop up there, and he started teaching me, and, you know, the rest is history, I guess. But
Did you do a traditional apprenticeship?
I did in the beginning, and then the guy kind of pulled a Houdini on me and skipped town, and there towards the end, I kind of had to finish up teaching myself, but I was diligent and resourceful, and I practiced a lot on my husband. So, you know, I mean, it's been
She got a heavy hand.
7 years now. So
No. At first it was, you know, like anything when you're learning, it's a little rough. But you know.
She practiced on your asshole? You
No.
know, they don't see that. But
No. Thankfully, unless I fell asleep, I didn't know.
That's a
She-
new place for you to practice on.
Yes.
sure.
Well, yeah, because you know, well, that's true. except for all the
He's not quite running out of real estate yet. So.
no, instead of the Jamaican
That's
bobsled team,
cool.
no one else other than you would ever see that.
Yeah. No,
He
He looks like
think I
he's
would
creating
even see
more
it.
real estate for you.
What's that?
You're feeding him well. He's creating
Yeah, I
more surface area.
Yeah, it's really what's going on.
He's feeding himself. I don't cook.
No, she doesn't cook. She's not a Betty Crocker Stepford wife type of gal. I'm more of this Betty Crocker Stepford wife type of gal.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but she, at first, like anyone learning, you're gonna have mistakes, and everything that she's done on me is done well. There's things that, of course, like any artist, that she critiques herself the worst more than anyone. Looks back and she says, "I don't like this," or "This is gonna have to be covered up," or whatever. But
I just want to know if she hurt you. That's what I want.
oh
to
yeah,
know.
that was the best part about it for her. I was letting her hurt me. Beyond normal marriage wear and tear.
Remember that garbage you didn't take to the curb?
That's right.
I'm gonna dig in a little on this line here.
Yeah.
We're gonna get real.
Why do I feel it in my teeth?
They're gonna exhume your body 1,000 years from now and find this on your fucking bones.
Yeah, it was. It was rough.
You forgot the dishes. Let's hit that clavicle tonight.
Yeah.
Let's get up on that collarbone real deep.
No, she didn't. She's very good. Her speed has picked up a lot too, and that's great. She's very quick for the amount of detail she puts into her artwork. She's very fast.
That's important too, especially
is.
if you're getting a new tattoo. That's one of the things that we talked about talking about was misconceptions that people have when they come into a shop, especially with a plethora of tattoo shows that are available now. They see things on television and they think, oh, I'm going to go in there and 30 minutes later I'm going to be done with this big piece.
Yeah, exactly. Or that, they're going to come in and be like, oh, hi, I had this idea, and, oh, okay, well, give me 20 minutes and I'll draw that up for you. That's not how it fucking works.
Right.
Like, you call and you schedule a consultation. Normally I can't even take walk-ins. I can't remember the last time I have. I'm booked up, and when I do schedule somebody, the first time they come in here, I'm not getting ready to tattoo them.
Right.
We're going to sit down and have a conversation about their tattoo.
Which is
get
better
their
for you in the
ideas.
end.
And it's better for them, too,
Right, exactly.
Because, if I wanted to do art for me, I'd keep fucking painting.
Right.
But this is personal for them.
Right.
So I've got to try and get inside their head. And you can't do that in 3 minutes standing at the counter.
Right.
Hearing
what elements they want included, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to push that out.
Right, and then 15 minutes later I've got this masterpiece ready to put on
Right.
their body. That's just not how it works.
So if you're going to get your first tattoo, you should make an appointment. You should come in and talk to your artist and really get on the same page.
Yeah, and honestly, even before that, shop around. Go on people's websites, look at their artwork, because another misconception is that all artists are created equal. That you can go to this place, and if they say a tattoo is going to cost $200, well, I don't want to pay that much. This place over here said they'd do it for $50. There's a difference, and there's a reason why that tattoo is $50 an hour, and this one's $200 or whatever. It's not the same, and you have to really get a feel for your artist, see what kind of style they have, what kind of work they do, what they specialize in.
Do you think ink
really
is one of the?
important.
Do you think that ink is one of the things for sure that you get what you pay for?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If somebody's charging $100 an hour, it's because they've earned that. Because they've got enough work under their belt that they can demand that per hour, and they deserve that much per hour, really, because it's high quality work, and they're usually very experienced. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I wish I could make $100 an hour. We're not working 40 hours a week. We tattoo for, maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, and then that's it. if we're lucky. I mean, you know, it's not always like that every single day. Or there'll be days that we come in and all we're doing is drawing all day or something. And we don't get paid for that either. You know, so yeah, and if you go to a place and they say, yeah, I can do that for $30, well, it's going to look like it, and honestly, you're probably going to pay 10 times as much to get it fixed.
Right. And that's probably something that we should talk about too is cover-ups. First of all, you specifically, do you have a particular type of tattoo that you like to do?
I prefer realism, but I think that's just because that's always what I've enjoyed doing, like even with my painting. I painted mostly portraits, people, you know, hyper-realism, things like that. So naturally, when I started tattooing, that's what I strived for, is to be able to make that transition from my painting into this other medium.
I notice a lot of your pieces are like black and white, have a lot of gray in them. Do you do a lot of tattoos that are similar to that too?
Yeah, I do prefer black and gray, although, I mean, I can do full color. I can do lots of things, but I mean, there are, of course, certain things that I prefer to do, but I don't try and push that onto my clients. You know, I mean, I'm not the one that's going to be wearing it around. I'm not the one that's paying for it. So I try and, you know, for the most part, keep my opinions to myself unless they're requesting something that's just not possible or just not going to work right, you know. If they ask, you know, I mean, I'll give my input when I feel like it's needed or wanted. But beyond that, I just try and listen to what they want and, you know, give it to them as best as I can.
That's prolific. Profound.
It is. Well, I mean, it is, you know, but honestly, in all honesty, though, and we've run into this numerous times, and we're the type of shop, we actually require we require our employees, and you can ask any one of them, we're like, your opinions on other shops, you know, you could talk to us or whatever. We never talk to them about unless someone says, what do you think about this shop? And we may give a very vague, general opinion of it, but speaking in a broad sense, we kind of promote that we don't trash talk other shops, and there is this kind of,
it's very unprofessional.
It is, but it happens.
But it's so common.
One of the biggest things that Mel and I ran into when we opened a shop was in our community around Springfield and the surrounding areas in the Midwest. There's almost a sense of like open-armed camaraderie. There is obviously. It is a community, truly.
Yes,
there is those in there that will say, "Oh, I'm better than you," or you know, "I can judge your stuff because I put in the time," or whatever. You're gonna have that no matter where you go. But there is a lot of people in the art community away from, and I'm not talking tattoo, I'm talking just like more traditional art, that will say, you know, please come show your stuff, or really, you post your stuff on Facebook or Imager or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's great.
We would do collaborations with each other just for fun.
Live shows where, you know, Mel would be painting, while another person's painting. And but they also show their artwork kind of around them, so it's just getting to see them do the process, and people would show up just to watch that,
bouncing ideas off of each other, throwing business at each other. I mean, you know.
But I
fully expected it to be the same when I got into this business, and it was not.
And when we got into the tattoo business, it was like right out of the gate, we ran into opposition, and it was you know, and we're talking harsh opposition, like they were going on spreading rumors, spreading lies, talking about how we were reusing needles without washing them, Mel was on drugs, they were listing the kind of drugs, all sorts of things. None of it's true.
Do you think those kind of stories get promoted and spread around about every other shop?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Every one of them, yeah. If you ask enough people, every shop in town sucks. And they're all dirty, and all of their artists are crap, and they will ruin your skin.
And you can find just as many people who say, "Oh, that place is awesome."
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even more. But I mean, it's just
The negativity
it's so
comes
cutthroat
more from.
and so competitive.
And I don't know,
you
part of it is because it's kind of like, like I've worked construction for years before this, and were you still up? Okay. I don't know if part of it is like one of the things with construction is when you always brought a new guy in, everyone kind of razzes them. Everyone kind of puts them through the ringer. If you could survive, deal with a little bit of.
But is this hazing or is this?
And that's what I wondered. I wondered too, was it hazing or not? It kind of got, and it was, at first it was kind of like, well, we thought maybe that was it was just hazing. And then it got to where it was literally like defaming and slandering like Melanie as an artist, not just the shop in general. And we actually had to go to a couple shops and talk to the owners and be like, the such and such is doing this, they're posting it. We've talked to a lawyer, which we had. You either got to stop or have them stop, or we're going to take this to the next level, legality situation.
And I mean, people are going to talk shit amongst their friends, but the fact of the matter is they were doing it in the shop in front of clients, and it just so happened that some friends of mine were in that shop as clients when it happened, and then it immediately came back
Which is
to me.
completely inappropriate in any industry.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's totally unprofessional, and so that's why from the very beginning I've been like, this will never happen in my shop. I don't care what you think about the other places. I don't care if you've worked there or your biggest enemy is there or whatever. If you want to shoot the shit with your buddies after hours or whatever, that's fine. But during business hours, and especially while there's clients here, that will never happen. And, I mean, it's weird because a lot of this was coming from people that I was friends with before I opened the shop.
Yeah.
And people that I had
I bet that was
approached me
in the tattoo field
to come and work for them. They had approached me to come and work for them.
And then when you didn't, you sucked.
When I didn't and I opened up my own shop, then all of a sudden, I was a total scumbag and don't come to me or whatever. So.
But it goes beyond just naysaying to other shops. And actually, at this point, we've actually kind of turned.
That doesn't go on anymore that I know of. I haven't heard about anything like that in a long time. And honestly, I've had people, well-known artists from other really good shops in town send people to me recently.
That's what I was going to say. So I mean, we've moved it around to where and maybe that's part of it was the hazing. I don't know.
So you've gained some respect in the community.
Absolutely. And especially because several shops around town now have closed due to one reason or another.
We're definitely not contributing, though. But I think part of the difference is it's also there's a lot of money to be had, a lot of competition, whereas you have, visual art is kind of still a hobby industry for the most part.
Right.
So
well,
it's not,
around here,
that's, I mean, it's why you have
Springfield area.
Springfield area definitely is.
And, and other people, I know other people who are, I have friends of mine who are professional artists, and they've been in situations where they, they have to hold their tongue because his curator's an idiot, and he can't say anything because his friends, just the network, and if he were to do that, then that would close a lot more doors. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it is. It's, and that's part of the reason why I got out of that industry for the most part is because people do view it as a hobby, so.
For some reason.
Well, at least here. I think we talked about.
I definitely sold more paintings when I showed in bigger cities. So.
St. Louis and Chicago.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be an artist in Springfield, in order to survive, you've got to go to one place or the other. It's not uncommon with, as a tattoo artist, you're probably one of the few really creative occupations that can stay in this area and survive.
Yeah.
Like I do stand-up comedy, and there's no way that I could make a living just doing shows around Springfield. And there's no way that I would get any more shows if I just did Springfield. You got to get out. You got to go to Chicago. You got to go to St. Louis.
And when you've got 3 kids, it's kind of tough to do.
Right.
So, I mean, I needed to find a home base, closer
Well, you guys
to my
have
family.
a great place here. And
Thank you.
we should remind listeners again that we're at Route 66 Monster Tattoo in Chatham, Illinois. And we're recording in the gallery room. which
Yep.
includes a lot of art that Mel has contributed, and she named off several other people earlier. I definitely recommend coming by and visiting this room. If for no other reason you want to stop by and see some great art, this is a cool place to be, and you can talk to them about a piece of your own while you're here. One of the interesting things that you guys do that I'm not sure other shops have really gotten on board with is you guys do a lot of charitable stuff, and you do you're involved in a lot of fundraising, you're involved in the community to an extent that I don't see out of a lot of other shops. Like
Yeah.
you guys had Saturday, you guys had an event here.
Yeah, we had a blood drive that was part of a bike rally, which was for a charity that does work for homeless and abused children. It's called No More Victims 2. And they're trying to raise enough money to build a shelter for kids here in Sangamon County that need a place to go, you know, whether they be homeless or in a bad situation or whatever, you know. So we were a part of that. We were one of the main sponsors. We hosted the blood drive. We donated several $100s worth of gift certificates to their auctions and stuff to help raise money. And you know, I mean, I've got 3 kids of my own, and you know, when I was growing up, I kind of ran with a rough crowd, and a lot of them were, you know, homeless street kids, and you know, from bad homes and abusive families, and you know, I mean, I guess I just kind of have a soft spot for it. So, you know.
Well, I think it's cool that you guys are getting involved and getting engaged with community stuff, because traditionally tattoo shops and artists have been sort of counterculture, non-mainstream. So I think it's awesome that you guys are kind of stepping outside of that traditional box, and you're saying we're part of the community too, and here are the things that we support.
Yeah.
And so if you're a socially conscious person and you're aware and you give a shit, maybe getting a piece done at Route 66 Monster Tattoo is a better choice for you than going somewhere else that doesn't really get involved in all those activities. I'm just saying. Shameless
Well, appreciate the plug.
Yeah.
But you know, it's true. Like one of the things I think.
Honestly, I don't advertise that I do it. I mean, and
Well, I want people to
because
know.
this wasn't the first charity that I've been a part of. I mean, we do it, like you said, pretty regularly, you know. But I feel like it's kind of my responsibility, you know. It's everybody's responsibility, but I mean, if you can bring attention to certain things, then you definitely should any chance that you get.
I agree. Every time there's a social anxiety disorder seminar, I volunteer to go do comedy there, but nobody ever shows up. So it's an easy check. I just walk into an empty
Introverts
room.
unite
I do 30
in our own bubbles at home.
I do 30 minutes of comedy for people that don't want to be there. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There you go. No, I mean honestly, I think you know one of the reasons that we even got into it in the first place is when we had our youngest one, our son. He's got Asperger's. At the time, we didn't know it, and he ended up having a hernia, and it was really bad. And they ended up having, I think it's which children's network was it? One of the local foundations helped us kind of get through a rough patch with him during the surgery, and we were like instantly grateful because it wasn't even expected. It was just kind of like some of the people at the hospital were like, you should really talk to this group, and they might be able to help you out. And we're like, okay, and we did, and they were amazing. And we just thought to ourselves, why don't we start giving back a little bit more? I mean, that's one of the things that was great about the art community before tattooing was the fact that people would like sell paintings for charity, just donate them, and then if you raffled off tickets, you would win a great piece of art for like next to nothing, but it all went to a good cause. And we're like, we can do that with gift certificates so easily, and having people just give a little bit. And there's a lot of times when I'm walking around that people are like, oh, you own a tattoo shop or you work at a tattoo shop. I'm like, honestly, come by. I said, you don't have to even buy anything. If you don't like, there's people that I tell come by that I know will never get ink. I'm like, just stop by and say hi, because I'd like them just to kind of get used to the idea that we're not. I want to break the idea that we're some kind of outcast group,
Right.
that we're in here drawing upside down pentagrams.
They are.
They are.
Fucking
We
are.
They may be having this service.
They're not going to say that.
Not
Sean's not
exclusively.
going to tell you, but they
No.
fucking are.
Yeah,
I saw
that's
him.
right, in the back. But that we're family people. I mean, everyone here has family, and everyone here we have everyone from starting a family to us who've had a family forever, and we've got kids here, and I mean, this is a business we want to grow into the community that gives back a little bit.
Well, one of the things that we were kind of complaining about, or have complained about, is this plethora of tattoo shows that are showing up on television,
Yeah.
and how they sort of give people a false expectation of what their visits are going to be like at a shop. And to be honest with you, I don't have any idea where I was going with this, but it made sense at the moment.
It's a quick buck. I mean, honestly, it's sort of on the long term, it's kind of it's detrimental because it just does destroy, But
Well-
it's sensational for a moment, but
And this is where I was headed with that. One of the things that I think all these tattoo shows have accomplished is sort of breaking down the barriers that existed for a long time between tattoo people and non-tattoo people.
Absolutely.
It's definitely brought tattooing more to the mainstream than it's ever been. And the popularity of those shows, I think, proves that. One of the questions I had from somebody who was planning on listening to this show on Friday, she wanted to know if you guys watch Ink Master.
I've
Yeah,
seen
and
a
what year?
couple of episodes. One of the ones I caught recently was one of their newer episodes, and it was like duels or rivals or something.
How do you deal with
and
arch
it had
enemies?
just gone right. I mean,
It was
some
a
of
drama
the
fest.
earlier episodes were pretty cool because they focused on the artwork and stuff. But this one, it had just gone right back to that, reality TV trope of, everybody's fighting and drama. And I mean, that's like the
That's
part
all
of the
scripted.
tattoo industry that we hate, So I mean,
It happens.
we don't want to. I
mean,
don't
it
want them
does.
perpetuating it. It sucks.
Well, those
But I mean, it's like that with any of those shows.
the reality of the reality shows is that a lot of that stuff is completely scripted, and I'm sure
Absolutely.
it is
Sure.
for Ink Master and everything else too. I was up for a True TV role, and it was a reality show, but it was 100% bullshit.
Yeah.
The whole thing was going to be like, okay, you are the guy driving the tow truck today, and we're going to come get this car, and you're going to say this, and this guy's going to say that, and then you're going to take his car, and we're going to drive away. I'm like, cool, but is there somebody that actually needs their car taken? Is this is this a real repossession? No, the guy doesn't even own the car.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, that fucking makes sense. Reality show that's absolutely not reality.
And most of them aren't.
yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
took a broadcasting class, and the first thing the guy said, he goes, because I walk in, and actually what was hilarious is after 13 years of taking a hiatus to start a family with Mel, I finally was like, you know what? She started back at school. I'm like, I'm going to start back at school. Why not? I'm going to finish my art degree. And I went to the university. First class I had was like broadcasting. That's what I kind of wanted to go into originally. And I was like, this is going to be fun. So I go into the class, and everyone there is like, looks like children, right? I'm like the oldest guy. And of course, it looks like I look like Louis C.K.
You were the oldest guy.
I was, and I look like Louis C.K. So he makes it even worse. So he wasn't even famous at the time. So like he is now. So they didn't know. They saw some old crazy Scottish looking dude. Yeah, I was like, what's up with this guy? So I walk in, and I sit down, and you've got the entire plethora of the Glee cast there sitting with me, and the teacher comes out and he goes, Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
oh, it was totally like
Bang.
bang. He's like, how many of you like reality shows? And literally, I'm not joking, literally everyone in the class except for me raised their hand. And they go, and he stands up, looks around, and he goes, what's wrong with you? And he points at me. And I go, I just don't watch them that much. watch? And he goes,
I'm old enough to know better.
I said, once in a while I'll watch something like, I don't know, Swamp People, like just to see, hopefully somebody's going to get their face ate off by a gator or something like that. But I don't really watch like reality shows.
That would be awesome,
Well,
wouldn't
it would be like, shoom, Elizabeth, and then all of a sudden, he gets his arm chopped off, or like Romancing the Stone, like the hand gets bitten off or something.
Well, Swamp People totally sets a false expectation because they make you believe that somebody is going to get eaten every single episode, and nobody's fallen in the water yet. Nobody's
it's the same
getting
premise
chopped
as
off.
NASCAR.
Bullshit.
And
I think if they're going to be credible at all,
Yes.
at least one of those people has to die to
Needs to
engage.
take-
sacrifice.
needs to take one for the team.
That's right.
Lose a hand.
Require it.
But I said I just don't watch stuff like that. I said once in a while I do. If it's something that's more like documentary style reality, but even like History Channel isn't even really History Channel anymore. And he goes, everyone else put your hands down. He goes, that guy gets it. And I thought it was really also, and then instead of feeling really proud as I should because a teacher then all of a sudden I get 20 angry little Village of the Damned children all looking at me going, what's wrong with that glare of, what's wrong with you, outsider? And I'm all like, shun him, shun the outsider. And I'm like, I don't get it. And he said right after that, he goes, I've worked on reality television. So he goes, I've worked on 3 different reality television shows. And he goes, every single one of them staged. He goes, every time you watch one of those shows, they're telling them what to say before they start shooting.
Yep. Totally true.
And it was great about that was to look around over a sea of youthful minds watching their paradigms just break and crumble around them, and then watch them go, oh, it's not real.
That would be an amazing dynamic just to see that go down. See all those kids just suddenly, their whole lives are totally destroyed at
It's
one
this
moment.
is the Matrix. It's not real. But what's great? I mean, we're Generation X, right? I think is an appropriate term. That's really where the reality television show started. Was with technically
Real World.
with Real World, the first season of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that and they're like, this is never gonna fly. They actually thought about canceling it halfway through, and then they got to the end. In the end, the season finale of the first season of Real World was one of the most watched MTV shows ever in the history of MTV, because it was people were they're like, oh my god, we've hit gold here, and then if I could go back, if I had Doc Brown's time machine, I would go back and I would kill all those kids and save a world from becoming stupid.
I've often thought about what I would do with a time machine, and if I personally had a time machine, one of the very first things I would do is go back to the moment that Tyler Perry first put on a dress and say, dude, really, you don't want to do this to the black culture in America. Please stop.
Right?
You look better as a man.
Yes. Yes.
And that would probably shatter millions of black women around the country, but black guys would be like, fuck yeah, oh my god,
thank
Tyler
you.
Perry, thank you,
Thank
goodbye.
you, Derek Bennett. You're the best. We herald you as a god.
I feel for you dudes.
And then you come back in time and George Bush is still president. You're like, what happened? Somehow
That
Medea.
would totally change
I
totally
know. You're
change
like,
the
oh
whole
my God.
timeline. Obama would have been elected 8 years earlier, probably, without Tyler Perry in existence. He set everybody back a million years. And I like the dude. I'm just saying. Culturally, he was not a good thing.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, we should.
So that was an off topic about that too.
I am way the hell off topic, and that probably offended some people somewhere along the line. I actually
Half your
offended.
constituents probably like Medea fans. They're like,
Yeah, all those
no
Medea
more.
fans are pissed.
They're like, oh my gosh.
They're like those Village of the Damned kids that you're. One of the interesting things about that story that I find interesting is that college professor took such joy in shattering kids
Yes.
all at once. The first
It's gonna
semester.
happen. Inevitably, it's gonna happen, and it's better to have it done not in real
Just
life.
rip
I
the
think-
Band-Aid off.
That would make it worthwhile to be a college professor just to be able to do that the first day of every semester, just shatter kids. Just
I think that's what's great. When I went to so many different classes, I slowly realized that's really what college professors do, is just shatter children's paradigms. and hopefully rework them into some sort of
Well,
like
why else
living.
become a college professor?
Right,
It's
that's
why
not
you
for the
college
money.
first place to, like,
Yeah, you're like, I'm a college professor. I'm better than a high school professor or teacher, and I'm
we're
gonna
gonna wear jackets with patches in the elbows.
I'll tell you why. Because they work like
And
3 hours a
turtlenecks.
day.
Yes, yes, they do.
Yeah. One of my favorite college professors, Dr. Dressler, he's RIP now. Good dude. He used to, this is my favorite college course because he would come in, he would say not a word to anybody, walk straight to the desk, set his books down, sit on top of the desk, lecture for 60 minutes, pick up his books, and walk out the fucking door, never said a word to anybody. No roll, no attendance.
Yeah.
If you were there, you got it. If you
Yeah.
weren't there, it was on you. You know, and it was great. He had 2 tests a semester. He had a midterm and he had a final. And if you weren't there to get the information, you flunked. That was your problem. He didn't care.
Mm,
My favorite professor, though, because he left me the hell alone.
right?
Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
We should probably talk about art a little bit more.
Okay.
And here's one of the things that I wanted to ask you about.
Mhm.
I have some art that's terribly fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about doing a cover.
Uh-huh.
But it seems like to me that there's this perception out there that a lot of artists don't want to touch somebody else's stuff. And so if you're somebody who has ink that's blown out or you have bad lines or something like that, something that you regret,
Mm-hmm.
can you come in here and can you give them a cover you feel comfortable working on somebody's tattoo like that?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, if it's something that they're not happy with, they're not going to go back to that person and get it redone.
Is there,
And they're
is there
certainly not going to go back and ask that person to cover it up with something else.
right? That's true.
You know.
But is there a perception that exists among artists that I'd really rather not touch somebody's stuff?
In certain situations there are. If it's an unfinished piece and it is obviously unfinished and it's not totally butchered, a lot of people will be like, you know what, just go back to them and let them finish it. This isn't my piece of work. This is somebody else's, there are exceptions to that rule, but we usually try to,
Do you have somebody here that like does cover-ups as part of their specialty? Do you have an artist specifically here at the shop that does a lot of covers, or just all of you?
myself and Mark Green, he's got over 20 years experience, and I don't know about him, but I personally, probably more than 50% of my work is some sort of repair or cover-up. I mean, there's just so many like garage tattoos out there, shit people got when they were 16,
Crazy.
No,
Right.
I paid for some of
You know.
mine with 3 to 5. That's how.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, well, that, and I mean, honestly, the industry's changed in the last few decades. I mean, it used to be you walk in and there's some burly dude sitting there with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and you're like, yeah, I want a number 27, and you'd pick a piece of flash on the wall and he'd slap it on you, and hopefully not give you hepatitis.
That was my
But-
18-year-old birthday present to
Yeah.
myself. Was
You
that
know.
exact scenario she just
But
described.
I mean, it has totally changed now. I mean, granted, there are still a few of those joints around, and you can't smoke in them anymore, but the guys still tattoo. But for the most part, it has definitely become more of an art form, and the quality of artists has just increased exponentially. I mean, honestly, I think that's where all of the best artists have gone recently. They're all doing either some sort of advertising or tattooing, and so because there are so many people that are walking around sporting them old school tattoos that they're not quite so proud of, the Tasmanian devil or whatever,
I've got one of those.
yeah, and they want one of the cool new pieces that they've been seeing, and they come in to get it covered up, and we can do it. I can cover just about anything. honestly. I did one recently. This guy came in, and it was indistinguishable as to what it was. It just looked like a black blob on his arm. He said he had gone to 3 or 4 different shops asking around, seeing if anybody could do anything with it. And everybody told him, dude, get it lasered. And
There's no hope for you.
No.
but there was. I actually covered it with a piece that it's rather extensive with armor and chainmail, and if you know what you're doing, you can camouflage just about anything. But the person who's getting tattooed has to be open to your ideas, and they've got to be willing to not only spend some money, but cover some area, because anything that you cover anything that you cover it with is going to be, as a rule of thumb, usually at least 3 times the size of what you started out with.
You're going to be more
So-
limited in your options too. I would think, with
Absolutely.
a cover. That
Yeah.
goes back to something that we were talking about earlier, where the importance of having consultation and
Yes.
sitting down with your artist and coming up
Yeah.
with a plan. I would think that would be paramount in covers.
For sure. Make sure you get it right the first time.
That's
I
why
mean-
they're coming in to see you, because they didn't probably do that the first time.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I want to point out, because you were talking, Derek mentioned earlier that about the misconceptions that the tattoo shows give, and one of them is that, and Melanie just mentioned it with the being able to spend the money for the tattoo. I mean, a tattoo is a want; it's not a have-need. You
Right.
can live. You can't live without food and water, but you can live without a tattoo. But we want,
That's
people
not
want-
where you want to make your budget.
Right, but
You
the
know.
point is that when these people do, and a lot of it is because they do it, they find out somebody, because tattoo, as opposed to even like 50 years ago when tattoos, were, the machines were different, they were a little more simplified. The society only, usually if you're in the military, you could get tattoos, or if you're a real rebel or prison, you get tattoos. Now it's like everyone's more accepting of it, so you can buy tattoo machines anywhere. I mean, you can go to several different head shops in Springfield and buy a tattoo machine, or online.
You can literally get one on eBay for $10.
Yeah, and if you get one,
Granted, they're pieces of crap, but
they'll make a market.
it doesn't mean that people won't
Yeah.
buy them and try and use them.
And as
you
long as they
know.
know how to draw something, they'll start doing it and sell the tattoos. And somebody's like, well, if I want to, I can go get this $10 one from Joe Schmo, and that has a $10 machine, as opposed to spending $100 an hour. But the problem with it is those what I was getting at with those reality shows is what I found out is most of those reality shows, they're paid by the studio that runs the show in order to, they give them a salary for all the tattoos that they do. So when people go online and when they say, hey, you want to get a tattoo done by Kat Von D, you're not paying Kat Von D. Those people don't come in and pay Kat Von D money. You notice you never see them exchange money on the shows? That's because the studio is paying that particular tattoo shop or that artist a salary to do that show for that season, or do all the ink for that season. And when they come in, they're just like, hey, I chose you. And then you come up and you get your tattoo done. And then at the end of the day, they're making their paycheck. And that's not realistic for us as a business. You can't come in and expect to, like Mel said, tattoos can be a cover's 3 times the size of a normal one. You're going to have to spend some money just to get it covered up. That's why it's best to spend the money the first time around. It's cheaper for you. You're going to get the ink done right.
If somebody's looking to get their very first tattoo, what do you recommend they plan on spending on something like that? Do you think that somebody is getting their first one should get something that's a lot less expensive than a huge piece? Or
Well, I mean,
should,
you don't
should
have
they just
to.
dive in?
Well, I mean, it depends on the person. I mean, for me, it's like go big or go home. But I mean, if it
How much
depends,
do you
because honestly, a lot of the time when people come in and they're getting their first tattoo, they end up asking for things like, in spots that they should not be getting their first tattoo.
Like their face.
Their feet or their ribs or their hands.
Neck.
Yeah, exactly. So, I
Give
mean,
me a big old
and
snake on my neck.
not only are those really exposed areas, you don't know what your pain threshold is yet at that point. So you don't want to get the most painful tattoo right out of the gate. So, I mean, yeah, it might be a good idea to get something kind of small just to test the waters and see how you do. And then if you're able to handle it all right, well, then, yeah, fucking jump in both feet first. But, you know.
Translation, if you're a pussy, get something small. If you know you're a wimp, if you can't take it,
winners cry on the inside.
don't plan on getting a 6-hour piece.
Yeah,
The very first thing
no,
out of the box.
And honestly, get something that is meaningful to you, that you know you're going to like forever. Don't go and get something because all your fucking girlfriends have it. There are a few of them out there that, I'm not going to say it because I know that probably half of your listeners have them, but I've done about 647 of them this year, and it's like, I guarantee in 10 years, all these girls are going to be getting them covered up with something else.
And then you
because
come back to you and
yeah, right.
Great,
Which
you know?
is, so
That's
for
really
me,
kind
it's
of
a
investment.
win-win, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I certainly wouldn't want to be stuck with something that everybody else has. You know, that's a fad that's going to be really cliche in 5 years.
Well, I mean,
You
listen
know.
to your artist. I mean, the fact that you were talking about that guy earlier. That was like the burly guy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the shop that's scary. That literally was my first tattoo experience, literally. And the thing about it was that, you know, there's a difference between going to listen to your artist and an artist is like, hey, I'll knock off $20 to put a swastika on this, and I'm all like, no thanks. And then if the artist is like, are you sure you want to get that? That's usually translates into, I've done this before, probably about 10 times this week.
This exact same
This
tattoo that you have downloaded off of Pinterest and brought into me. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason it had so many hits. It's because there's every one of those hits.
A lot of
is somebody
pins
else's
there.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So just, you know, if they say, hey, I got this idea, let me shoot at you, listen to them. I know it's like, you may have thought your mother wanted this just like this before she passed, and she's just got to have it like this. But in all honesty, if you really think about it, it's what you want. It's not what she would have wanted.
Right.
And maybe the artist might think of an idea that you never even thought of that might, and they'll ask questions. You know, any good artist will ask questions. What did your mom like? If it's a memorial tattoo, what did she like? What did she, you know, what's her interest? What was, like, if she likes butterflies, what kind of butterfly? You know, we just don't want to slap something onto you and say, here you go.
That,
It's
and
interesting.
honestly, I mean, you know, as much as I do try to give my clients what they want, you know, I mean, there is a certain amount of just, you know, I'm an artist and you're not.
Right.
So please listen to me when I tell you something, because I'm telling you for a reason. And, you know, it's because in 5 years or 10 years down the road, this is probably going to look like shit because it's too close together. It's crammed. It's all these little tiny words. Nobody's ever going to fucking read all those little words on your foot, you know. So, I mean, it's... We do this job for a reason, and we have experience in it, and we know what's going to work, and we know what looks good, and we know what flows, and just, you know, sometimes trust us.
Josh is hanging in.
I'm in here.
He's a story guy. He's going to tell us some stuff. Where are you from, Josh?
I'm from here originally, from the old Chatham, Illinois. I now live in Portland, Oregon, and I'm visiting.
So you're back for the moment.
For a
and we
moment,
just
I
happened
leave
to
on
catch
Friday, so yeah, it's a rare opportunity.
That's
so.
awesome that you
It's
could
been
be
a couple years since I've been back, so you know.
And
but-
you are officially an inked person. You have ink.
I am, and by this person across from me right here too.
Mel's done something for you?
Yeah, we did some stuff yesterday too.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're just
yesterday.
hanging out.
And it's
Like, hey, want a tattoo?
yeah,
It would be cool to
I'm
have tattoo
bored.
artist
Yeah.
friends. That's for
it
sure.
is. It's a good thing. So
How much ink do you have?
I got maybe like 4 pieces, 5 pieces, not much. So
Do you remember? Tell me about your first one.
first one is I have these numbers on my arm. Now this is probably the best story. So, so I was I came to the Northwest initially to try to go on a boat. So I lived in DC at the time. Put all my stuff in a storage space. Broke up with the girl I was dating, and then went out to the Northwest to try to get on
Wait,
a boat.
slow down. Slow down. If I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
have,
be saying that a lot.
Yeah. I can
Whoa,
very
whoa,
quickly. So
whoa.
back up just a second. So you were you're from Chatham,
Yeah.
but you were in D.C.
I lived in D.C. for a while, too. I've lived all over.
all the way on the east side of the country, and
Yeah.
then you decide, screw this, I'm going all the way to the polar
Going to
opposite
sea.
side of the
There's
country.
this weird thing in me. I was like, you have to go to sea. And I
Yeah,
was
but
like,
there was an Atlantic Ocean pretty close to where you were at,
very true, but
and you're like,
for
fuck that,
some
I'm going to the
reason-
Pacific.
I'm just thinking crab fishing. Like that was my way to go to sea. This whole idea of camaraderie and this spiritual communion with the sea. Which later on, I was like, that would have been the wrong direction. So
Was it absolutely necessary to break up with a girlfriend to get this accomplished?
well, it helped. So I mean, I can be like writing her letters as I'm effectively a hobo, traveling around,
Give me your tears, gypsy.
So
So you dump her, and you go to the West Coast. You go to
went to
Portland.
West Coast, went to Portland, was in Washington, lived in Mount Hood for a little bit, which is right outside of Portland, and then I missed my window, so I was gonna wait a while. So I moved to Austin, Texas, to wait till the fishing season started, which is in June. So then I was back in DC. For my
There's,
brother.
this
This is a
is
long story, but
This
I can
is
fast
so
forward this, too.
random.
Yeah,
I mean, Washington, D.C. to Portland, Oregon to get on a boat that you miss. So while you're waiting, you go to Austin, Texas,
I went to Austin, Texas to bide my time during the winter,
which
It's
is
also
like
warmer.
halfway between both of these oceans that you have a desire to get on,
Yeah,
and fairly close to a gulf where you could probably catch a different boat.
I could
But
be
you're like, no.
shrimping, but I had
I'm
very,
going back to
very-
Oregon.
Yeah, that was where the calling was. So and I didn't quite understand at the time what exactly it entailed, but eventually I found exactly what I was looking for. So
It wasn't at Microsoft.
I was at Microsoft. I eventually went back to DC to my brother's graduation. I missed a flight, and
This
I
is
had
a
to
hell of a
hitchhike
story.
across the United States. Got back, had no money. I became a farmer, but when I became a farmer in Port Townsend, Washington, there's a boat building school there. I became friends with all the boat builders because someone actually worked on the farm too occasionally, and that's when I found out. My friend of mine was like, "Well, maybe you didn't do the fishing boat thing. Maybe you did this." And he had this flyer for these tall ships. It looks like a pirate ship, like that ship right there on that painting over there. And I was like, "People do that?" I didn't even think of being feasibly, like, could not even conceive it in my imagination. And so I called them up, and initially they weren't going to give me the job. And a friend of mine, Matt, who was also a boat builder, he was going to get a job as their bosun, which is a boatswain who deals with all the rigging, everything above deck. Basically like a carpenter, but you also with rigging and like lines like that. So we drove to Aberdeen, Washington, which is potentially probably the most that's where Kurt Cobain's from, the most miserable town in America.
Rock on.
And we drove there from Port Townsend, and we both went in there as a sort of a unit. And he hired him on because he's obviously a boat builder, and then the marine operations manager is like,
Cobain was sort of like my Kennedy. I just want to insert that right here.
No, I've been to his childhood home and where he killed his house in Seattle.
I remember
too.
exactly where I was
On
the
his
moment I heard
birthday,
it.
on the day of his death this year, with a friend of mine, she drugged me out. I was like, okay, I'll go, and it was in the rain. It was an adventure, but. So the guy hired me. He hired us. He was like, "Matt, really happy to have you on board." And Josh, I think you'll do okay. I was like, "Whatever."
And to
put
be
me,
clear,
put me there.
We're looking at a ship here with like big sails and stuff now. at this
Square
point.
sails, got four on a main mast, so it's 112 feet rigged. So from the tip of the jib boom to the end of the.
So
main,
like
the main
east to
sail.
west,
So-
not up and down.
Yeah, so we went. And then a
So
beam
it
is
was really
like,
tall.
It's,
Really
yeah, so it's
long,
about
wide.
100 feet tall.
Big ass fucking sails. What
yeah,
we're talking
huge,
about.
huge, giant. So yeah, I got a job on there, and I like literally the next day I was in Seattle in Lake Union catching their mooring lines, and I was on board, and nobody believed me, but I did it, and
And at this point,
I'm legendary now. And then we were in Long Beach, and I met this guy who had his arms tattooed, and I was thinking about getting the boat phone number tattooed. on my
and at
arm.
this point, you are not yet tattooed. You haven't.
No,
had any
this is the
experience,
third
so
tattoo.
we're rolling up on how you got these numbers on your.
So, well, I had my phone. My phone would die, and so we're in Seattle. We're in Portland. We're all these different ports. We're in different ports. We're in San
Is
Francisco.
this story really going to go where I think it's going to go?
This is the point where we're at right now. My phone would die. Okay, so I would end up, next to a cute girl occasionally. and my phone would be dead, and I'm like in San Francisco, and I'm like, how do I get back to the boat? Like, which is not easy because they're not necessarily centrally located. And this is before everyone had a little computer in their phone. So my phone would die, and I'd show up a little bit later than I was supposed to, which got the captain very grumpy sometimes, and I almost missed the boat, so to speak. And then
So did the captain require you get this tattoo? That we're
no, I was like, well, it'll still be
you came
very
up with
functional
You
and
came up with this
also
on your own.
commemorative as well. So this guy Art, he was like, so I had a handlebar mustache at the time. He came on board and he had some ship's head. I was like, I really like that. I was like, what'd you do? He's like, oh, I did it. And I was like, that's cool, man. That's really awesome. He's like, I'll come over and do some stuff. I'm like, what? So he ended up being an art teacher at this college in Santa Monica, and he actually used to volunteer on the boat. So he came back and like tattooed the entire crew. I was first.
Nice.
I bought him a 6-pack, and I got the boat phone number tattooed, and that was my first one. And yeah, it was great. And every once in a while, I'll get a drunk girl and be like, "That's not true," and they'll call the number and look at that answering machine message. And it's come to the point where
We should call the number.
It's happened enough times where the seaport was going to change it, and the captains were like, "No!" I had a high message, so my nickname was D'Artagnan. So they're like, "D'Artagnan has the tattoo. We can't forsake him."
So they're going to keep the number because
the number is the same. The number is the same. So.
You have it tattooed on your flesh, and they're going to, out of respect for you, they're going to keep the number.
Yeah, and it's helped. The captain's on the phone trying to get the some parts for the engine. He's like, "What's the number?" And he grabs my arm and reads it off. So it's it's worked for many instances.
That's a good story.
Phone
Josh.
died in Tijuana. I called him up. I was like back in San Diego. I was like, "We're gonna be there." He's like, "Hurry up!" So because you're sailors in San Diego, you're going to Tijuana. So that was an adventure. So
if it was me, I would have written it on a piece of paper and putting it in my pocket. But you tattooed right on the flesh. You're like,
it's that way I wouldn't lose it because I know I'd lose a piece of paper, and this is a little bit harder to shake off. So
yeah, it's on there for a while.
Occasionally, some grandparents get really kind of give me
What's
some
them numbers?
What's
boy?
the numbers on your arm? Like, chill out. Here's an adventure story, a yarn about the sea. You will enjoy.
So you piss off Jewish people, is what you're saying?
Well, not really. It's confusing sometimes.
They see those numbers on your arm and they're like,
Some of those were in different places. I'm like, hey,
Josh, you're an interesting dude.
There's a joke there, but I'm not going to go there. Right off subreddit, which is... Anyways, yeah, so that's the first one, so...
We should remind people what we're doing. This is Tales of the Flesh, and we're talking to Josh.
And I got the TCB, Aaron Elvis Presley, with a buddy of mine in New York. We got it done together, a little bro tat action, so,
You didn't jerk each other off afterwards or anything, did you?
Before we did. It was before, so.
Gotta get pumped up for
We got pumped, we got amped, we got pumped, and then we got inked, and all that fun stuff, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not judgmental at all. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, and then I think now they're I think maybe they're the same significance. They're just like fun stuff, like,
Yeah.
I
did a Roman numeral.
Oh
9
yeah, I have
first.
a fashion gang. So I actually make men's clothing. I'm a fashion designer. So I started this
Quite
fashion
a jump
gang.
from a sailor.
I know. I've learned about everything. And
Although maybe not. If you're a thailor.
a thailor, it's
And now
only
you're a
gay if it's
fashion
underway. It's
designer.
never queer if it's on the pier. It's only queer if it's on the pier. It's never gay if it's on the way. I messed that up. So we can edit
That's
that
probably
out,
why
so.
you're not a sailor anymore.
Yeah,
you
I was
didn't
like,
get the jingle
I was
right.
like whistling when I walked. And
You were fucking people on the pier, and they're like, "No, that's not how this works."
Not how I do it. You're gonna have to leave.
You're an interesting guy, Josh. We're talking to Josh at Route 66 Monster Tattoo in Chatham, Illinois, and he's being our inked person part of the program tonight. We've also got Mel still hanging around. She's with us, and
You see why I called him in now, don't you?
he's
So-
great. I'm so glad you brought him tonight. That's
He's
amazing.
got a fashion gang called the Nines. He dressed the Nines like
Josh was good enough to fill in. We had a fallout. Mama Cass, who's going to be hosting a show on our network. She's going to be hosting a show called Get a Grip with Mama Cass, which is basically advice to your life amped up like tenfold. She's a serious lady. But she was going to come talk about her ink tonight, and she told me she was neck deep in some estate. So I don't know if she killed somebody and she had to clean up the mess, but regardless, she couldn't come. Josh filled in for us at the last minute, all the way from.
I didn't kill anyone tonight, so
Portland,
luckily,
Oregon.
normally I'm usually out.
Yeah.
You know,
Leaving them at.
an assassino. That's why I'm actually in town to visit my parents, but actually I had a hit out here, so
Yeah. You know why there's only one shoe on the road? Every time you drive along the road, you see a shoe. There's only one, because the other one's still on the body.
Yeah.
Over in the ditch. That's why there's one laying in the road. So don't get out and check. Unless you really need just one shoe. I mean, that could be the case, I suppose, theoretically. This is going to be the edited out portion of the Lost episode. Me talking about one shoe in the road. And I'm glad you went the anti-Semitic route first. I mean,
it was inevitable. I saw it there.
I didn't even have to tell a joke. You just busted out the numbers on the
since we're
arm
editing
thing.
out, I'll tell this joke. So my grandfather actually died at Auschwitz too. He fell off the guard tower. You had to edit that out.
He fell off the guard tower.
I was reading the subreddit of offensive
wow.
jokes.
That's a bad one.
Recently, that was and there's some really terrible, great ones. So
I pissed some people. I did a show at a place called Riddles Comedy Club up by Chicago, and it was a themed show, and it was around Easter, so they decided to do an Easter theme, thinking that most of the comics would come in talking about Easter bunnies and shit like that. Only I started out my set by talking about how Jesus rode into the town on the back of an ass because he was a cheap fucking Jew and he wouldn't spring for 4 horses in a carriage. That was probably not the best.
they were like,
they were like,
unplug my mic. Is this what happened?
there were like 3 Jewish comics that laughed really, really loud, and everybody else was silent looking at her. It was one of those
I feel like
moments.
it's half a comedian is just like, that's half of it,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was definitely going there.
Yeah.
I can't even get it. It was so offensive. It was probably the second most offensive joke that I've ever done. The first most offensive joke that I do is about the Olympic Games. And what the hell? I'm going to cut this out, so I'll share it with you. Recently, the Olympics thought about cutting wrestling. And that's true. They were going to get rid of wrestling because it wasn't a popular sport. People weren't paying attention. And Olympic wrestling has been around. It was one of the pillars of the Olympics from the beginning, like 400 BC or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around forever. And they were going to cut it because it wasn't very popular. And they forced Olympic wrestling to compete with other less popular sports like Mushu and squash to be admitted to the 2016 Games. And when I heard that, I came up with a plan that I believe will fix the popularity issue. You just shift wrestling over from the regular Olympic Games to the Special Olympic Games. Because if you're going to throw a Down syndrome kid in with some kid that's got cerebral palsy and they're going to do some freestyle Olympic wrestling, I'm going to buy a ticket for that.
Oh, heck yeah, man. Maybe a little bit of MMA in there, too, you know?
I think it'd work for
Some
other
Gracie
sports, too.
Jiu-Jitsu or, like, American boxing or, kickboxing.
I'm totally...
Muay Thai? Yeah.
No, dude, straight up American Warrior standing up on the turnbuckles.
And you got to figure that the Down
It's gotta be
syndrome
like-
kids...
Gladiatorial.
Give them
Yeah.
costumes and shit,
And if it doesn't work out, you just gladiator and just, throw the lions in there,
Down
Right.
syndrome kids are winning gold for like the first 10 years. I'll tell you that right now because they're the most happy people in the world, the most friendly people in the world. But if you piss off a Down syndrome person, they're coming at you like a chimpanzee,
They'll break your
ripping
neck.
shit off.
Yeah.
They
Lenny
have
is like,
no mercy.
I don't feel it.
Cerebral palsy kid stands no chance against a Down syndrome kid in an Olympic
Retard
wrestling.
strength.
It's not going to happen,
Venom.
I'm telling you. I think it would be. I think it would
It might
improve.
disqualify
I think
them.
I was at actually a beach house last week, and not I just happened to be it, but we played Cards Against Humanity,
Oh,
and
that's
I got
awesome.
retard strength was one of my cards I got. So
Nice.
Retard is socially unacceptable term. You
True.
can't say retard anymore. I found that out because the
That's
second part of my
bullshit.
joke. Well,
My
here's the thing.
son's autistic, and I call him a retard all the fucking time.
Retards don't like you calling them retards sometimes. So
I feel like it pisses off other people. Doesn't it? Retarded people
Yeah, I
aren't bothered by it.
agree.
It's like
I
people who are
agree.
like, my little brother's got Down syndrome. Like,
yeah, I agree. It's always somebody
that's
else's
offensive. It's
piss.
like not offensive to him. You know, he doesn't
You can't
care.
piss off somebody that's got
Yeah,
some
don't give a
disability.
He
shit.
just likes to eat cream corns. Like that's his jam. Just don't take away his cream corn.
Fucking A.
Anyway, moving on.
Well, the second part of my joke, which I didn't tell you, which is it was equally offensive.
Oh,
I think it would work for other sports like Olympic diving. Like, I'm not watching Olympic diving, not 1 second on television.
I feel
I'm
like
not going to
the
do it.
majority of sports could actually be
I agree.
enhanced by putting.
Like Olympic diving. I'm not watching it if it's just regular people diving off a platform. But if you start pushing a retarded kid off a 32-foot platform and he's screaming
Just
all
off
the
a
way to the
cliff,
water,
you know?
and then in a huge, massive belly flop, I'm buying a pay-per-view on that. I'm going to be
That
there.
would probably.
All of a sudden,
the human body
you
would
no
do
longer
that.
have an issue with the
Yeah.
popularity of wrestling or
Yeah.
diving. Fixed, just like that. Done. Sorry. Totally off topic.
that's all right.
Gotta put up with me sometimes. I'm the guy with the mics. So, Josh,
Yes.
let's hear another story.
Well, I got. I could do this. My thing is very tender right now.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the Roman numeral.
Oh, so I started a fashion gang called the Nines, like dressing to the nines, you know. And then a bunch of friends of mine, and actually I was gonna learn how to do it, and that way, you know, it's just very simple. I could do that, you know. And then I have a manifesto, and then we read, which is basically is like I pledge to like just to dress
Wait.
nice, you know.
You have a manifesto.
Yeah.
Like a
Basically, you're pledging-
Unabomber type of manifesto?
Well, no, you're just pledging to dress up. You know, that's the whole point of it. So.
So you're
Yeah.
you're
To make it
You
lying.
can never be a dirty slob.
To just be an
Yeah.
elegant corpse, type thing.
So your
well,
line has a manifesto. Is that your personal manifesto?
Yeah, well, a component of it, but I feel there's other people I know who follow along those same lines. So
So the meaning is life. The meaning of life is don't look like a douchebag when you die.
true.
Should have some-
Ultimately, look good. But also, like the rap song, it's like money, hoes, and clothes. But I'm like, but mostly the clothes. So
Well, you look great tonight. And
why? Thank you.
do you have a website for your line?
I
Yeah,
do, but
somewhere.
it's being redone, so I'm not going to tell people to go to it right now because it looks like garbage right now. So
Don't go.
But you can update. I can update it later. But
You want to check on Josh's website in like 60 days.
yeah, when it's back online and it looks better. Right now it's like a basic Tumblr shell. But it'll be good.
But you do have shit you're going to sell.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like
So
stuff
I have
you're
I made.
designing.
Yeah.
And the tattoo
It's very
is all
nautically
incorporated.
inspired too. So that's also good. It's very technical. I came up with a term called Scando Japanicana.
Scando.
So
Japanicana.
it's sort of British tailoring combined with sort of the Scandinavian sensibility and also Japanese construction. So and then also there's Americana in there as well, which is Scando Japanicana. So we're trying to combine all those things into one catchphrase. So it will take off. So I feel like there's a lot of places that are
As soon as
trying
you
to
teach people
evoke-
how to say it.
evoke that thing.
Is the hat the Americana part? Is that what it is?
This is from John Helmers in Portland, Oregon. This is actually I've actually studied millinery too, which is hat making. This is a fur felt hat.
This guy's done it all.
Which I really do love making hats. It's a lot of fun, and it's one of those instant gratification things. A lot of art, like when you paint or you draw, it takes a long, long time to see things come to fruition. But like, cool about like, if you're doing small tattoos like that, you can see it come together very quickly, and so you have that sort of instant gratification. I also read a lot of comics too. For the same reason, I get instant gratification from it. I can read it, it's over, and I move on.
It's like an orgasm.
It is. It's nice, rather than, you read something like Ulysses and it's like tantric, year-long, whatever, for you to pay off. And it's really not that great, so.
Not a fan of Kafka.
Kafka's all right. I like,
That whole cockroach thing really freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, so. And he's got some other stuff that's pretty confusing. So
I'm more of a Beckett kind of a guy. I really.
I have some friends who are really into Beckett. I had an ex-girlfriend who started getting into Beckett because her boyfriend was getting into it.
Endgame. I love to play Endgame.
I'm not familiar with it, so I'll have to check it out
You should
though.
check it out. You would appreciate Endgame.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's.
I like Ender's Game. That was great.
I don't know.
Orson
That's
Scott
it.
Card. It's like the greatest. It won the Nebula Award. It won the Hugo Award for science fiction. Only, I think, 7 people have won. Frank Herbert for Dune won it. Ursula K. Le Guin, Robert Heinlein. I can probably list them all off. Some strange reason I can remember all these things, but very few people have won them twice, and he's won them twice. So they made a movie out of Ender's Game too. But it's and he's
Yeah, I
also
think I
very
remember
famous,
I think I
homophobe,
remember
too,
the film.
unfortunately, and Mormon as well. So
Mormon?
he's a Mormon, yeah, and he's a very famous Mormon. So he got in a lot of trouble because he was they're obviously not pro homosexual, so they tagged him onto that
Yeah,
too.
they spent a ton of
unfortunately,
money in California trying to defeat, or trying to.
So yeah, when that movie came out, people were like, boycott the movie, and it's like, I'm sorry, this book is one of the greatest books ever written. I mean, it's amazing.
The
If
whole
you ever
Mormon
chance-
thing notwithstanding.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a work of art. It stands alone for the person, and he's recanted a lot of those things too, so.
Mormons fascinate me. They literally fascinate me because they're generally really, really nice people, you
Yeah.
know? Almost to the point of seeming a little cultish, a little Stepfordish, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
But the whole thing is based on a guy who was a fraud before he even started the religion. And then he comes walking into town one day and says, I have received golden plates from an angel. And the angel's name happened to be Moroni. Yes, that's moron with an I at the end. Moron with an I at the end. And he gave me the golden plates, and he gave me these magic spectacles so I could read the golden plates, but you can't see the spectacles or the plates. You just have to take my word for it. And people are like, cool, Joseph Smith, we're down. And next thing you know, they've got a whole religion based on a guy who is a complete fraud telling people about magic plates from a moronic
A
angel.
whole lot of snake oil.
Yeah, it's like, really? You believe this shit? You're buying it. You're
Yeah.
in for the. You're willing to bet your everlasting immortal soul that Joseph Smith wasn't bullshitting people about the magic plates and the angel named Moron. You're cool with that.
It's a gamble.
I guess one spaghetti monster is as good as another.
I suppose. You're not a Mormon, I hope.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay.
No,
All right. Scientologist?
no, not anymore.
Because I don't have the attorneys to talk about
Yeah,
Scientologists. If you talk about Scientologists, you got a whole legal staff at your disposal. Otherwise, you shut the fuck up about the Scientologists.
Yeah, and then you got Hitman after you, and that's
Tom Cruise comes to your house.
hey man, not cool. Sucker punch you. No! Did Tom Cruise just punch you in the face?
Did
He
Louis
did.
C.K.
I
just...
I opened the door and he spit in my mouth. It was really weird. I'm like, Louis, the hot. Louis right in the back of my throat. I think that's the most disgusting thing I can think of.
So you got a piece that Mel did?
Yeah.
Other than the 9?
Yeah. It's from Naoki Urasawa, who's Unodai is called a national treasure in Japan. He won the Pulitzer Prize, but he did he does manga, so it's comic books in Japan, which is approached differently there. Like everyone reads it, kids, adults, little old ladies. Like it's a lot more commonplace over there. And he had a couple series, Monster being one, which is really amazing, and then 20th Century Boys, which is they've actually had 3 live action movies in Japan. But the series is very, very highly lauded, and the bad guy who's called the Friend, who he has this cult following, and he has this symbol, which is an eye with this little hand going up like that in the middle of the eye. And I'm trying to get. I'm emailing her the links to it so she can read it and be blown away by it because it's pretty amazing. But 20th Century Boys, Naoki Urasawa. They might have them in the library. That's where I first got into them. Yeah, it's good stuff. And
you're into some Eastern stuff. You definitely have a Far East kind of influence on your stuff.
There's some good stuff. I mean, honestly, the Naoki Urasawa, like, once I got into him, because Juno Diaz wrote The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, which is all about weird, nerdy stuff, which, you know, I'm sure present company would be totally, you know, talking about, like,
I don't know of what you speak.
like Robotech and, like, all this weird stuff. And it's a great book. It won the
Yeah.
Pulitzer Prize, but, yeah, I was flipping through it at the library, and he wrote a little blurb on it, and I was like, what? I was like, I respect him, and, you know, and he knows his stuff, so I checked it out, and just it blew me away. Like,
It's funny, actually. Isn't that how, like, we kind of ended up becoming friends, is, like, our mutual love of Japanese shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched, like, Wicked City. It was Ghost in the Shell, Ninja Scroll, and then probably Kira. That was like four, and somebody had it on their
The
house.
basics.
Yeah, and then someone's parent would always walk in during the rape scenes in Ninja Scroll. It'd be like
Right.
the Shogun's banging something, and mom like, you guys want some Cheetos? It's like, oh, we're good. What are y'all watching? Or nothing actually transpired. Just like, you know, a can of Pringles and like
Right.
walk out backwards very slowly.
Have you ever heard of Musashi?
Musashi Miyamoto, the world's greatest swordsman?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Yes.
course.
Takuhiko Inui wrote a book called Vagabond, which is, I'll send the link to that, which is amazing. But Musashi Miyamoto, the Book of Five Rings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that
Oh,
because
so
you
Know nothing about it, actually.
Right.
he talks about the 5 ways that men pass through life: gentlemen, warriors, farmers, artisans, and merchants. And you kind of touched on all of those in your short
He's a
life.
sword saint. Like this Vagabond series is amazing. It talks about you know, using the short sword and the long sword, and he just, you know, it's good stuff. As my sword is cutting, as your sword is cutting me, mine is killing you. That's you know.
Is that telling us we got to get the hell out of here? Is that what that?
No, I don't know what the fuck that was. My tablet just makes random noises all the time, and I don't know how to shut it off.
It means you're making money, you know.
You know, actually, it could be my Square register.
I lent my
going off
brother
or
like
something.
a bunch of money recently, and he finally paid it back. But so Google Wallet's pretty cool, and he sent it back through. But it made the weirdest sound, and it was like, oh, you made $1,000. I'm like, what? And I was like, I want to hear that sound more often. I was like, that's sweet. Still need to pay the rest of it off, but you know, it's a good start.
Whatever.
You're an interesting cat, dude. You ever heard of a fellow by the name of Daniel Bolelli? He does a podcast called The Drunken Taoist.
No, I haven't. So
You should check that out. It would be right up
the
your
Drunken
alley.
Taoist.
This is probably
Write it
going to be
down.
edited out too because
Yeah.
Danielle is a
diverted
friend of
off it,
mine, so I don't mind giving him a plug and leaving it in. If you guys want to check it out, drunkentaoist.com. He's really cool. He's well worth it. He, my friend Daniela wrote a book when he was, I think it was first published when he was in his late teens, 18, 19 years old. And he originally wrote it in Italian, and it's called On the Warrior's Path. And it's, somebody's battery is going dead. Somebody's going to be a wall hugger here in a minute.
Sorry.
It's about philosophy and martial arts and how they're intertwined and have been intertwined throughout history. So it's sort of a look at philosophy and warriors and how they've been intertwined.
The integration
throughout-
between the two.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
throughout history.
It's very
It's
interesting
really
stuff,
awesome.
so.
Well worth looking into. I
Yeah, I'll
wholly
definitely check it out,
recommend it. He's an interesting fellow because he's a biblical scholar. He's a religious scholar, not a biblical scholar. He talks about all religions, but from a critical view.
Yeah.
He's one of the only guys that I know that has a PhD and doesn't advocate for a religion. He actually.
I'm
tries
also a
to-
big like Joseph Campbell fan. Who kind of falls right into that category of, you know. He talks about mythology, basically, or all, you know, basically the similarities between all religions, and I don't know, very compelling stuff. So myths to live by, and he can get very, very. He's very accessible and also very, very dense when he needs to be too, which I think is a great attribute. So
Danielle just wrote a book recently called "Create Your Own Religion: A How-To Book Without Rules or Without Instructions." It's well worth taking a look at. One of his first books after On the Warrior's Path was it was like a dummy's guide to religion, like 50 things they don't want you to know.
yeah,
He totally puts it out there. Fascinating guy. I would totally recommend you look into him because I think he's somebody that you would be into.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually, before I started tattooing, I was going to college. I had gone back to college after 10 years of being a stay-at-home mom, and I was going to get my degree in anthropology because I wanted to be actually an anthropological archaeologist. I wanted to go on digs. And
Wow, you are so
shit like
far
that.
away from that.
So I know, right? Well, I mean, you grow up with this, starving artist. I thought I had to do something else in order to make money.
Sure.
As fate would have it, I ended up taking an art class as one of my electives, and my teacher talked me into switching my major to fine arts. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, point being, while I was doing that, I actually wrote one of my final papers for my Anthropology 2 class on the similarities between religions across time and across the globe, and it's really kind of fascinating stuff, and that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to focus on. But obviously I didn't do that.
Do you think any of that comes out in your art?
Oh, for sure. I've always been a big history buff, and a lot of my artwork has like stories behind it. Actually, the one behind you that you've mentioned with the lady with the ship on her head, it's called The Haunting of the Lady Louvabond, and it's based on a ghost story from the UK, and oh God, what year was it? It was 18th century. There was this captain, and he married his sweetheart on his ship, and the first mate was in love with her, and he drove the ship into the cliffs and killed everybody the night of the wedding. And supposedly I know it's
kind of morbid.
Right. But, supposedly every 50 years on this certain date, you can see the ghost ship out, out at sea. And it just so happened that the date of that, the 250 year anniversary, was the day my husband and I got married.
Wow.
On February 13th, 1999. So it was just kind of a cool coincidence, but it's what inspired me to paint it. So I mean, there's actually stories like that behind a lot of my paintings.
Did somebody wreck a boat when you got married? Out on Lake Springfield, somebody ran a bass boat aground. They're like,
they should.
"Oh my God, I can't believe she's marrying Louis C.K. I'm gonna run my Ranger bass boat aground over here and kill everybody."
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some motorcycles. There were sad punk rockers everywhere.
Mall rats were
Yeah.
sorely disappointed. Oh
Right.
man, kicking
Yeah.
cans in their Jinko jeans,
Going
and
home and
their Adidas
putting on
toe caps.
some white face paint and black eyeliner and writing sad poems. But yeah, no, actually, I even went on a dig at one point, and it was really fun. Kind of, it was fun in the lab, but I realized very quickly that I was going to have to switch to cultural anthropology if I was going to stick with it, because it wasn't so much the dirt or the heat or the hard work, but it was the critters that I would find in my sight every fucking morning when I would wake up and go and take the tarp off. I mean, like, spiders the size of cats, dude. It was... No, I can't have spiders. So, yeah.
Let alone the size of a cat.
Right.
I've seen a YouTube video where it has it's like the same place in like the Eastern Europe, where he had a little suit where he had to put on his dog, makes it look like a giant spider.
No.
And things are running up to people, and you're like, ah!
No,
Or
but
they're in the elevator. It's amazing.
I have nightmares
Highlights.
about those fucking videos that you see that the soldiers take in Afghanistan, where you see them big ass camel spiders on the side of their tent and shit. I mean, oh my god, yeah, that is horrific. But
There's a guy named
no,
Tom
it-
Mabe who's a comic. I think he's from Louisville, and he does these videos. And one of them was he attached like this drone to skeleton, sort of a Grim Reaper type, and then he let it loose in a park and flew it around. And
Oh, I saw that. That's just hilarious. Just flying
Don't
around.
No way.
And there's just like some black dude's like, ah, his sneaker falls off. He's like running. Ah, it's hilarious.
I can handle a big ass spider, but a Grim Reaper in a
Yeah,
park,
yeah.
and that's gonna.
He had like a
Nah, dude,
some
me
sound
and him,
component too.
we're tight. but
Right.
no fucking spiders, man. It straight up made me change my major.
You refuse to tattoo spiders now as a result of your.
That's why you're here, because you hate spiders, basically. That's why we're having this conversation.
Really,
That's
in the
awesome.
end, yeah, that's kind of what it
Yeah.
all boils down to is my severe arachnophobia. Yeah.
That's why you
Despite the
became an
fact that
artist.
that exists right there.
Yeah, you know what? That's a Halloween decoration.
Really?
It's
Has it? Is it? Had not been there the whole entire time. I
fuck
feel
you,
like
Josh.
there's a theme here.
For the listeners who have no clue what's going on, there's a big fucking spider on the wall.
With a light up web,
Yeah.
It's festive.
therefore.
I've
And
noticed.
it's acrylic and
Advertising.
bright neon colors and not even remotely realistic looking. So
Not at all.
no.
In fact, my parents have two of those hanging from the front of their garage, and when you light them up, it looks like breasts hanging from them. It does. It looks like two boobs.
Get
With
into that, you know.
the little spider is like a nipple right in the middle. I'm telling you. I thought about telling my dad, and then I thought, no, I'll just let him stay up
Let it
there.
magic
Right.
stay.
It'll be fun for me.
Give that back to the community.
Everybody
My parents
loves
have
boobies.
boobs on their garage, and they
Yeah, the
have
boob
no
houses
clue.
gives you full size candy bars. Let's go. Let you be
They do have
legendary.
good candy at my folks' house. So if
No
you're,
fun size. You king size.
Right?
Or no size at all.
if you're in their neighborhood, look for the garage that has two boobs on it, and you'll be at the right place.
Hook you the fuck up.
They will. They will. Halloween's coming. That's one of my favorite holidays.
Oh my
I'm
god,
assuming
it's like
it's a big one for
Christmas
you.
at my house. I
Yeah.
literally have way more decorations for Halloween than I do Christmas. And it is true, a lot of them stay up year round.
I dressed up like 4 different times. Like I had 4 different costumes. And my new one this year, I'm going to be Texas Buyers Club. My friend's going to
Nice.
be Aids McConaughey, as we call him, and I'm going to be Rayon. So. Here, I'll flip that back up.
See, I usually go
Maybe
like
some, like-
super old school, you know, like I get really intricate with my costumes. Like I've got this one that I've been adding to every year, and it's like very like 17th, 18th century, like Salem witch, you know, I mean, like with the big full like Marie Antoinette looking sleeves with like $80 a yard Italian lace.
Wow.
And like, yeah, it's
That is pretty
pretty
interesting.
wicked.
See, I have a built-in. Every year I go as Artie Lang. I just go to the liquor store. I get a bottle of whiskey and I go score an 8-ball, and then I walk around. I'm
Yeah.
Artie Lang.
Yeah.
If you look at the website, I kind of have a resemblance to. I look like Artie Lang before rehab is what I look like. Pretty similar to, like, if I shaved my goatee, I would look like a Tom Arnold before he lost weight. That's kind of like
Major Rose.
I don't have a Louis C.K.
Uh-oh.
The hot spot is beeping. Of course, we're not broadcasting; we're recording, so
Okay, so it don't need to be.
yeah, we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah,
That's what that was.
that's
for the
okay.
listener.
I've been, what's the word I'm looking for? The only actress I've ever had anybody liken me to is Farouja Bulk from The Craft.
Oh, man.
So, which is pretty fucking sad. Like, it's ever since high school that fucking movie came out, and you know, God forbid I wore a black skirt and boots. So
Who's the creepy little British chick? You look a lot like her. She's in a lot of weird stuff. You would probably know if I asked.
What movie?
I don't know. The one with the creepy little British chick. I could probably Google creepy little British chick and she'd come up. Creepy. There's probably a listener out there.
People
that
used to think
knows
I
who
looked like Leonardo DiCaprio, but then they would have me do the retarded thing from Gilbert Grape all the time. The point where I started,
killed it, Gilbert.
yeah, I started charging people for it. I actually make money off it. So.
The hat doesn't help. The hat
Well, I have,
kinda
I look
reinforces-
older and haggard now, so that helps. So
You look like what Brad Pitt would look like if he didn't have money. That
I'm like poor man's Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt in the trailer.
that's not terrible though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's still Brad Pitt.
My wife Angelina here.
You're still in the ballpark. You just like the trailer park version.
You know, that'd be amazing. You open it up, there's all these like kids of different color in there, adopted children.
Totally.
Tattoos are big in trailer parks.
They're huge. That's probably half. No,
Well, you know, the shitty ones that I cover up are big in trailer parks.
yeah.
You know, the ones that they got from their friend's kitchen in the trailer park.
I grew up in a trailer park and I turned out okay.
I did too, and I'm totally fucked up. So.
Yeah.
I lived in a trailer once.
For every success
while my
story.
dad was building our house.
It's anecdotal evidence right there, pal. Doesn't
I want to
work.
create things where you take two trailers and stack them up on top of each other and call them double highs. I don't think that's really been
Oh,
explored
that's a
quite.
great idea.
Yeah. And you got like what, a little elevator or stairwell, you know?
Classy.
Double high, double wide.
I think that's a great
Right.
idea.
You can have it look like a Jenga, you know, of trailers.
Or you,
It would be literally like a skyscraper of trailers. Triple high, triple wides, and then, you know,
they have those. They're called houses.
they're called apartment complexes.
Yeah.
Well, MLK Jr. had his dream. This is mine.
Not in Central Illinois.
Yeah.
What's
It
your
would last about 6 months depending on what year you built it in. Or I mean, what month you built it in. Whatever. It's late.
It is late, but I do have another tattoo question for you, an artist
Yeah.
question, and that kind of goes to stamina, which we're running out of now. But how many tattoos can you physically do in a day? How much can you really tattoo before?
It depends on how small the tattoos are. Of course, there's breakdown and setup time. You know, I'm here approximately 8 hours, so I'd say I could probably do potentially 7 in a day if I, you know, left when I was supposed to. But, you know, I mean, honestly though, I have autoimmune arthritis, which does kind of factor in to how long I can work sometimes. I do have to take frequent breaks, and, you know, sometimes my hand swells up and fingers go numb and shit like that, which
Is
is
that
totally
common?
not what you want to hear from your tattoo artist. But, you know,
Are these sort of common things that happen with tattoo artists over a
I
period
mean,
of time? or-
you do. A lot of tattoo artists do end up having back problems, or, you know, whatever, carpal tunnel, hand issues, shit like that. But mine is purely just shitty genes. So I had this long before I ever started tattooing. So, you know, it's not a direct result of it, but it does affect it.
It was probably that archaeology thing. It probably came to that shit.
Right? Got some nasty.
Tutankhamun's tomb.
Yeah.
Should have known there's a curse.
This
Right.
may be a stupid question, but the vibration of the gun seems like that. Do you still feel the gun in your hand after you've tattooed for a while?
Oh yeah, sure. It just, you know, you don't notice it as much. It doesn't affect your work anymore, really, and you know, it helps with muscle memory and, you know, things like that. But I remember when I first started tattooing, probably for the first year, If I worked for very long, my fingers would go numb for days
Well, here's
just from the
pardon me.
vibration of it.
Sorry, folks. Here's a question. I know what it feels like to receive a tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like to give a tattoo? What is the sensation like for you as the artist? Like, it seems like with the vibration of the gun, you would feel a lot of that.
Honestly, it's not as bad as you would think because of the grips that we have that we put on the tubes when we're working, what we hold on to. I personally use like padded grips. Sometimes they call them like gorilla grips. They're like squishy silicone sleeves that you can put on your steel grips in order to kind of like a shock absorber, you know, and that does help. But it's we don't feel it as much as you do on the business end of the machine, that's for sure. Most of it just kind of boils down to issues with posture and, you know, the machines can be heavy and, you know, trying to stretch the skin while you're working and, you know, your canvas is not flat. It's twitching, bleeding, sometimes crying, you know, and yeah.
That's Josh.
And, you know, it's
number 9.
those are the things that make it difficult, you know. Trying to get a nice clean line out of somebody that can't sit still or something, you know.
Have you had somebody pass out on you?
Once, only one time, and honestly, it wasn't because of the tattooing. It was because I was tattooing approximately a 98-pound woman who had thought that it would be a good idea to take muscle relaxers before she came in. And not her own, but her son's, and the dose that he was prescribed at a 6'4", 250-pound man. So
she was comatose.
Yeah, I was like, we had just gotten started, and I was in the middle of tattooing her, and she just kind of starts slumping over in her chair, and I have to throw my machine on the floor and grab her before she, you know, falls out and busts her fucking head open on my floor, you know.
But that's on the contracts, like, you're not on any of this stuff. Like, you
right.
should not. Like, that's a violation, you know. Like,
yeah, it really is.
Of, you know,
it's in the waiver.
Yeah,
you're
it's like
not
very, very
supposed to be.
First thing, I believe.
Yes, but I mean, obviously, there are people that sign that waiver and, you know, come in and they're on shit and they don't tell you and you don't find out until you're 10 minutes into the fucking tattoo, you know. So it's the biggest issue is a lot of people want to drink before they come in to get a tattoo because they think it's going to help with the pain. Problem is it thins out your blood. You're bleeding out most of your ink, so it's counterproductive on top of the fact that, you know, I can't fucking see what I'm doing. So, you know, it's not a good idea. It's illegal, you know, so...
It's not really going to help.
No, it's not. You know, it's like people that want to go and chief it up before they get a tattoo. Honestly, it makes you focus on the pain more than anything else. So, you know, I mean, just fucking
drugs. If we're going to sneak in and do some drugs before, it won't be the best drug to do to sort of... there is no solution to that. It's
yeah,
like,
not
just
really.
Don't do it, kids.
Suck it up and don't be a fucking pussy.
Dare to keep kids off drugs or tattoos.
I've got 15, and I've found for me that there's a high associated with getting a tattoo, especially when you get to the point where you're done. It's like there's a huge rush.
The endorphins kick in, and I mean that's part of it. And if you leave yourself open to be able to experience that, it's one of the great parts of getting a tattoo.
It can cause an almost addictive behavior, I think.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's definitely one of the reasons why people, at least for me, I keep coming back because not only do I like the ink, but I like the feeling that I have after getting ink.
Well, and it kind of goes back to some of the original practices with tattoos. You know, with the tribal people. I mean, thousands of years ago, they used them for medicinal reasons. You know, it's almost like a local anesthetic. You know, I mean, it's similar to people who get stung by bees for medicinal purposes. You know, or
I don't recommend
acupuncture.
Yeah, I was like,
Or- No, but I mean, there are people
I
that
do know
do
that
that,
people do it,
and
yeah.
you know, acupuncture,
They're nuts,
for
but they do
example.
it.
You know, I mean, it's similar.
I would try acupuncture.
Mhm.
I'd be down for that.
Mhm.
But bees, no.
Yeah. No, not
I'm the
me.
pass.
Me neither. But I do know people that do that daily. So
I know people that do heroin daily. That's not a good idea
Right.
either.
yeah. But I mean, they have proven that it does help with inflammation and things like that. So, you know, with tattooing, I don't know if it's proven, but I feel that it does have a similar effect. You know, especially when you're tattooing certain areas, you know, or problem areas. You know,
So it's almost therapeutic.
it is.
I think
I mean,
it's
on top of
definitely-
the fact that, you know, it's almost meditative too.
Right.
I mean, you're sitting there, you're focusing on your breathing, you know, things like that, and you're really able to kind of look a little bit more inward and find what you're capable of physically, you know, your limitations, and I mean, it's a rite of passage for a reason, I think.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that. And it's one of the reasons that we're doing this show, because it's something that a lot of people undergo, and then they have stories associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the tattoos that I have, I've got Black Panther on my arm, who's
Mhm.
now horribly faded, but it's one that my grandpa had as a sailor in World War II.
I was gonna say that is like the classic
Yeah.
American tattoo.
And it's one that he had on his forearm, so when
Mhm.
he passed away, I got it put on my forearm.
Awesome.
So that's a small story about
You know,
one of mine.
And it is the only thing you will take with you when you go.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna invest your money in something, you know, I mean, you can buy a nice car or a nice house or whatever, but I mean, this is the only thing that you will have with you for the entirety of the rest of your life. You know, it is truly yours, and nobody can take it from you.
That's right. And each one of mine tell a story, and I recommend it if you're going to get a tattoo. We talked about this for a minute
Mhm.
earlier. Give it some thought and have some reason behind it, because it's
Mhm.
important, and it's like Mel just said, it's going to be with you forever. You're going to take it around until you decide to undergo a horribly painful laser treatment, which
Right.
is way worse than a tattoo.
Mhm.
So put some thought into what you're going to get,
Yeah.
and they can be extremely meaningful for
Mhm.
a long time. They can,
Mhm.
for me, they are reminders of some of the worst times in my life and some of the best.
Mhm.
They remind me of how to behave. Like, one of my favorite tattoos, I have the logo of a guy named Indian Larry. I don't know if you're familiar with Indian Larry, but he was a bike builder and a philosopher, and I got an opportunity to interact with him a little bit. And
Mhm.
he made a huge impression on me. And one of the things that he did was he had certain things that he believed, and he had those tattooed on his neck. So he would see those every single day when he looked in the mirror. It would remind him. One of those things was no fear.
Mhm.
And so I incorporated Indian Larry's question mark logo with the no fear tattoo in the same font that he had on his neck, and I had that put on my arm. He had this question mark logo, which he put on his bikes, and the question mark represented kind of that every single day had new opportunities, and you didn't know what that day was going to present to you. And you should not be afraid to go and experience that. And so I like those elements, and I had those incorporated into a tattoo, and now those remind me that I should be open to new opportunities, and I shouldn't be afraid to go out and tackle things in life. So, my tattoos, like I said, remind me of some horrible things that happened to me. They remind me of some great things, and then they remind me of how I'm supposed to be as a person.
Mhm. and you will always remember where you were in your life at that time when you got that tattoo.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's every time you look at it, it will be a reminder. And you know, there's not a whole lot of stuff in your life that's like that. You know, so
Like the telephone number on Josh's arm.
True. Never forget. It's my 9/11.
If he ever wants to go back, he probably has a job. He just needs.
I've
to come
gone
in.
back. I've sailed,
Yeah.
you know, many times, you know. You know, it's one of those things where it's you got to try and get it out of your system. It's a sort of exorcism, when it ends up just reinforcing it further. And, you know, now I own 2 boats, 2 sailboats.
Have you crossed the equator?
No, I haven't. But there's tattoos involved with that, and I want to get my anger tattoo, which is crossing the Atlantic. Once that happens, which hopefully will happen in a couple of years.
That's something interesting about tattoos. Tattoos can also signify that you've achieved certain. You know, we
Yeah, and
use
that's
those-
usually kind of how it kind of started too. Is with sailors. I mean, you cross the Indian Ocean, depending on where you've been. You know, it told a story. Even like with your, you know, they have the traditional like the birds right here, which you know the sparrows, which allegedly if you fell in the water, they would lift you out, or they would have a rooster and a pig on their feet, because those are 2 hydrophobic animals. They hate water. And if you had them on your feet, they would keep you dry. You know?
Really?
It's very
That's
superstitious. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of
sailors are
superstition
extremely
behind
superstitious. Like captain I served under, his first job was on a big like fishing boat. He was a cook, and he made split pea soup. And the captain saw it and saw that it was green, threw it overboard because green is like plants, so that it seeks roots, so it sinks. You know, so he didn't want the boat to sink, and that was his reasoning. So the captain was like, "I have 1 pot to feed all these people. I'm out of a pot." So it's kind of quit weaning up shit creek with a turd for a paddle.
He didn't make any more fucking soup either, did he?
Yeah, that was his last time making
Captain
anything
took
green.
care of
Learned
that.
a very important lesson. Important lesson.
So we've talked about like 3 of your pieces so far. We talked about a couple.
And then I've got
of
one is it's another comic book one. It's Tom Johnson's. She's a Finnish lady in the '60s who made this comic strip called Moomin or Moomintrollen over there. But it's basically Moomins look like hippopotamuses. They just try to live this idyllic life and just kind of like be cool with whatever, you know, just kind of like I don't know, Finnish hippies or something like that. And then you know the modern age comes in there, and then
Hippos kill more people than crocodiles.
really.
Yeah.
Well, they're trolls, but they look like
That's
hippos. So
They are not chill at all.
You know,
They don't like you messing around in their water.
maybe that's just like African ones, like African hippo. I mean, like hippos from Finland or.
We're not talking about the hippos you see on the carts rolling through Walmart's health and beauty section.
Yeah. And they're
We're
rascals.
talking about African hippos.
You're driving it backwards, lady.
Those
I don't
things
know
are
why they're
fun,
always
though.
over in health and beauty. Those big, huge, fat.
Yeah,
ones
there's
and all
nothing
that.
there that's gonna save them, you know.
And you know why they get on those
They
carts
should
and roll
be-
around Walmart?
Buying.
If you're a big person and you've hoofed it all the way from the parking lot, the first thing you're looking to do when you go into Walmart is find a place to sit down. And they have those things right next to the door. Convenient for the fat people to sit on.
It's like a go kart, you know. You just look
No.
like a Walmart Mario Kart.
You
You know?
should move them 60
Right
feet
around.
away from the door because the people on wheels, they're going to be able to reach those things. The fat people, put some benches out. They can walk the rest of the way.
They'll,
Just
you know,
saying.
lose some weight, you know.
Give them a place to
Totally off
take a
topic
breather.
again. I do that a lot, by the way. Can we put a
I'm at
number
that
on?
itchy stage.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did you just get a new piece yourself?
I just got it worked on a couple days ago, and it's healing. It's like I said, it's at that itchy stage right now.
Do you have a number on the amount of pieces you have on your body, or
No.
is it just kind of all together at this point?
No, yeah, I've lost count a long time ago. I don't even bother.
Do you collect tattoos from people that you would like to have a tattoo from, or how do you choose as an artist? How do you choose somebody to put something on you?
Oh, well, it's usually my first tattoo was done by Ryan Thompson, who worked at New Age, and he was a friend of a friend, and he had done some really good work for him. So, you know, I trusted him to do my first tattoo. But after that, it was always just, you know, my friends, employees, people that I work with. You know, I mean, if they're good enough for me to hire them, they're good enough for me to let them tattoo me. You know, it's like I wouldn't hire anyone that I wouldn't allow to tattoo me.
I would be willing to bet that there aren't a lot of shop owners out there who would be willing to say that. That everybody
Probably not.
Everybody employed in their shop can put a tattoo on me.
Yeah. But then, you know, I mean, that's always been kind of something that I've done as a boss or business owner. I would never ask anything of anyone else that I wouldn't do myself, you know, and that includes my tattoos, you know. So, you know, my most recent piece, my chest piece that I got done, I had Mark Green do for me, who works for me, and he actually apprenticed under Danny Fowler, who is the guy who makes the machines that I use. And I'm very picky about my machines. And the only thing I will use is his time machines, is what they're called. And so when he came in and showed me his portfolio, which was fucking awesome, you know, and then he was like, oh yeah, by the way, I apprenticed under Danny Fowler. I'm like, okay, you're hired. You know, so he does great work, and he's like a veteran in the field, and, you know, he's given me a beautiful tattoo now, too, so, you know.
But you've
Yeah.
got some great ink.
Thank
I
you.
can't see much of it, but what
Yeah,
I can see is pretty
well,
cool.
it's, you know, getting cold out, but yeah, I'm working on sleeves. The tops of my arms aren't finished yet, and, well, neither are the bottoms for that matter. I keep adding on to it. My left arm is a lot of artwork from different artists that I like. Audrey Kawasaki, Emma Gary, some Art Nouveau pieces, and
I've got
it's
a dog's playing poker on my back. I know what you're talking
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason for it, though. When I decided to go ahead and go full sleeves, I wanted my right arm to be based on Scandinavian culture for my dad's side of the family, and my
Here's the story.
huh.
Here's one of those tales of the flesh.
Right, yeah. I mean, you know, everybody calls my dad Thor. He is a big, blonde, Viking-looking dude. I mean, my grandmother was over 6 feet tall, you know. I mean,
Scary.
obviously I didn't take after that side of the family.
You didn't get
But
that.
no, I definitely took after my mother's side. But they are all big, blonde, tough-ass people, you
Aryans.
know. And I guess so, but, you know, I mean, yeah, my sister looks like she fell off a Swiss Miss box. But, you know, being that I am such a history buff and, you know, stuff like that, I really wanted to represent my family's heritage. So that's the reason why I've got, you know, like the ravens, Hugin and Munin, which were Odin's ravens. I've got the original depiction of the Valkyrie. I've got Yggdrasil, the earth tree, with the serpent. I've got some Elder Futhork runes, things like that, you know. And then on my other arm, it's basically, you know, a lot of art-based stuff for my mother's side of the family, which was French, and they were all artists. I found out recently that I'm actually related to Eugene Delacroix.
Really?
Yeah, the French revolutionary artist from the 1700s.
That's got to
Early
be pretty
1800s, I
fascinating as
think,
an
but-
artist yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you know, it makes sense, certainly. You know, my mom drew and painted, you know, my great-grandmother was a ballerina, my great-grandfather was an artist. I mean, just like as far back as I could find, and my mother's maiden name was DeCroix, which they changed it to that when they moved over here, but it was Delacroix when they were in France. So that's kind of where that connection
Funny how
is.
that works.
Right?
That whole French pronunciation in France.
Yeah. Well, American
Or in
bastardization.
Quebec, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delacroix.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's why I have what I have on my arms. And then
That's a cool story.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm glad we got to that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's I kind of wanted to go with something a little bit meaningful for the shit that people are able to see. Of
Sure.
course I've got, some stupid stuff like a Stormtrooper Hello Kitty on my ankle. There's not really any deep meaning behind that, but fuck it was fun.
That's cool too.
I mean,
that's something else about
if you're not going to
tattoos.
completely cover yourself with tattoos and you're only going to get a few, then yeah, of course, make sure they're meaningful. But
you can do a
at
fun
some
one,
point,
too.
you get to this place where you're just like, yeah, fuck it, I want the Pokeball, which I have on my left hand, because I'm a Pokemon master,
Nice.
and a
You
tattoo
don't know,
machine
now
on
you
my right
know.
hand. Because this is my tattoo in hand, and this is my Pokeball throwing hand. So yeah.
I definitely can tell the difference.
So if you didn't get that, it was I'm a nerd.
Love it.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of 13s. I put them in a lot of different things.
Lucky 13. That's my husband and I got married on the 13th because it's a lucky number.
Depends on how you look at it, I suppose.
Yeah.
We should probably start wrapping up because we've been going at it for a little over 2 hours now, and we're going to have
A lot to edit out, I'm sure.
No, a lot of this stuff has been so original and so cool that I'm going to leave it because this has been a great conversation. We got to
Killer.
talk to a fascinating dude from Florida. Josh was with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for
I'm
sharing.
honored. Yeah, for sure. It's been
Appreciate
fun.
you being
So,
here.
yeah,
And you'll have to keep in touch, like add me on Facebook or something,
for
because
sure.
when you get to the point where you want to start promoting your stuff, let me know.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to tell people that it's ready to go. They can come find you and check you out.
Very
And for Mel, you can find her really easy because pretty much every single day of the world, she's right here in Chatham, Illinois, at Route 66 Monster Tattoo.
forever
Christmas Day?
and ever
Come get your
and
tattoo.
ever. Yeah.
What are your hours here?
We're closed Sunday and Monday. We're open Tuesday through Thursday from 11 to 7, and Friday and Saturday from noon to 8.
And you guys have a Facebook page where
Yes.
people can.
Yes,
They
we
can-
do. We're Route 66 Monster Tattoos on Facebook. And there's links on there, I believe, to all of our artists' individual pages. There's albums on there of our work, reviews, good stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
awesome stuff.
Thanks, Office
You guys have
Manager.
a fun Facebook page.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't fucking do that.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
But it's
I know,
there.
yeah.
He does good work. That
Yeah.
CK looking dude. Awesome. And I'm going to have a picture of him up on our website very shortly, so you will be able to judge for yourself.
Please no. I don't want to be known as the lady who's married to Louis C.K.
I'm sorry.
I have standards, for
you
Christ's
chose
sake.
him.
You'd be surprised. You look at it was like, oh, look at his wife. Well, I guess he's not married at the point of this show, right? He's a single father, so never mind.
So I want to thank Mel for being with us tonight, talking about her art and
Yeah,
talking
thank you.
about her
It was
own
fun.
pieces and the history behind some of those. I appreciate you guys opening your doors and having us in here. And
Always welcome.
again, if you're out here in Chatham, this gallery room at Route 66 Monster Tattoo is worth stopping in to see. Some of the pieces they've got in here are absolutely fascinating. And even if you're not getting a tattoo, you're going to be doing art showings right here.
Yes, yeah.
That's
I
the
want to make it
plan.
a regular monthly thing where we'll have a new artist in every month. So, I mean, for the time being, we have a lot of great local art in here, so come check it out anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree. And get a tattoo while you're here.
Sure.
I'm probably going to get one from here eventually.
Maybe.
I got some money. I could probably.
It's like,
I could
I
probably
don't
throw
know.
down
I
on one of
trust
those-
him to talk on my show, but I don't know about putting permanent stuff.
I can do one of those $30 flash pieces, okay?
Right on.
Pull one of those off the wall.
There was a free dick tattoo. Not on it, but of one. You know.
Right, yeah.
Get a dick tattooed on
It's
your
free
dick.
if it's on your face. It's a dick tattoo on your face. You can get one tastefully done on your cheek, pointing towards your mouth.
Sure. Couple little
Squirty
droplets.
squirts.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've created a few of those with permanent marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys sitting at home right now. I remember that shit.
It was you.
Motherfucker did that to me.
Slash your tire, key your car.
So we're pretty much wrapping up here, but we appreciate you guys hanging in for episode number 1, which
Number
we're
one.
already calling the lost episode. But this is going to be one of the coolest ones, I think, because
Peek
Josh
eye.
came in and shared his insights with us on a lot of different things, not just ink. And that's kind of the way we hope this show will go. And we're going to be recording every Wednesday night from this same place, right here in the gallery room. We're going to be broadcasting every Friday night. So you can check us out Friday night at 9 o'clock on GoneRogueRadio.com. And pretty soon we're going to have a description of the show on the show's page, which you can click on at the top. And you can also get on-demand content right there as well. So after this is broadcast, I'll remix it, put it on the website, and you'll be able to listen to it anytime you want. And it's been a fascinating interview. So, Mel, thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
to
you.
your hubby who's now gone.
Thank you, sir.
Josh, I appreciate you
I
being here.
doffed my hat. I have a hat on, so.
And I want to give a quick shout out to Mark, who's been lurking in the background the whole night, just
Lurking in the back.
peacefully observing.
Hopefully you'll get to talk to him later.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I'm sure he's got some pretty cool
Tales to
stories too.
tell.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about religion and politics, and he wants to be on. Hopefully very soon. But, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for paying attention. And we're going to bring you some more of these episodes. We're going to talk to more artists. We're going to talk to more inked people. But I'm not sure if they'll be as fascinating as this episode is. Josh has set the bar pretty high.
Setting it high. You know. It's been a weird life.
So again, beauty may only be skin deep, but ink goes all the way to the soul. And this has been Tales of the Flesh. Thanks for listening.
Gonna tell Aunt Mary about Uncle John. He claimed he has a misery, but he having a lot of fun. Oh, baby. Yes, baby. Woo, baby. Having me some fun tonight. Yeah. Well, long, tall Sally, she's built a species guy. Everything that Uncle John need. Oh, baby. Yes, baby. Woo, baby. Having me some fun tonight. Yeah. Well, I saw Uncle John with bald head Sally. He saw Aunt Mary coming and he ducked back in the alley. Oh, baby. Yes, baby. Woo, baby. Having me some fun tonight. Yeah. Ow! Well, long, tall Sally, she's built species guy. Everything that Uncle John need, oh, baby. Yes, baby. Woo, baby. Having me some fun tonight. Yeah. Well, I saw Uncle John with bald head Sally. He saw Aunt Mary coming and he ducked back in the alley, oh,